Hello and welcome back. Today, we are going to be doing a run start on Korea, which I think is one of, if not the most underrated nations in the game, despite people recognizing Korea as generally good. I think Korea might just be the strongest start in the game. I think there's kind of four conversations that you can have, or four nations you can really consider for the strongest, and I think Korea is one of them. And so we are going to be doing a run start today that is meant to be kind of a proof of concept for really showing off just how strong Korea is. It's not going to be fully min-maxed. I had planned on using Korea for a world conquest if everyone else had failed to do it, but people were successful using Barlas / the Timurids. As far as I know, no world conquest has been done without using Barlas as the start, which is undoubtedly the best for just having a strong start. But I think if you are looking to be as powerful a nation as possible, it's very possible that Korea is the strongest start in the game, and so we're going to be taking a look at it. Alright, let's kick things off with their content. They have some heavy hitters as well as some stuff that is just hidden. Like they have a unique cabinet action that's extremely strong. They get flat research speed. Normally the cap is 1.2 for almost all nations except for 3. Korea is one of the exceptions. Korea getting access to an additional 0.1 research speed, making them maybe the fastest researcher in the game. They do get their own barracks. You can build one of these in any urban location, giving them nice manpower boost at the beginning of the game. They do get monthly literacy, which is good right now for the current situation where literacy resets when you change religion. We will be talking about that. They do have an output bonus on industry for firearms. This won't really be that strong until maybe age 5, something like this. They get a couple of fort bonus buildings, which are a little bit interesting and perhaps very strong in multiplayer, specifically the land gunnery building, thinking that hostile attrition is maybe a little bit of an annoying modifier. I assume the metagame there revolves a little bit more around assaults, so maybe not that big a factor, but going defensive, there's perhaps a strategy for this, and they get a relatively cheap access to sources of attrition, whereas other people will have to use gov reform slots to access that type of stuff. They get multiple different access to galleys, unique galleys. I don't think that they're too crazy, but they are kind of nice to have a little bit of an extra boost. Efficiency of cabinet is kind of nice. Early or relatively early max literacy, very nice. Raw materials output, one of the stronger eco bonuses in the game, and as we'll see, they have some of the best or the best resources in the game, in terms of overall density. They get some infantry power as early as age 3, and then they do start off with access to some extra proximity because they are a celestial governor. That's not visible in here. They get some late game power in age 4 for artillery and heavy ship, making them a strong contender in terms of overall military bonuses. They get a little bit of proximity, and very importantly, they're nestled between Great Yuan and Ashikaga Shogunate, and so close your eyes because we're going to get a flashbang as we jump in here. So the Shogunate is significant because we can flip Shinto at game start. We can also flip Sanjiao. Sanjiao is quite strong, giving you 0.5 monthly legitimacy and enable righteousness. You get a bunch of dev. This is a very strong religion, and it would make sense to flip this religion as well. This is a fine enough start, but we're going to go Shinto because I do think it is a little bit more explosive. We can flip Sanjiao later if we so desire. It's going to cost us 50 stab, but as we'll see in just a minute, stab comes easy for us, and so we will change to Shinto. Now, Shinto will generate for us honor. The honor will tick up based on how much purity we have, so if we get more purity, we will generate more monthly honor, and we will use that honor to spend on various things. Now, the way that you spend it, unfortunately, is not in the religious tab, so it looks like, hey, we can't do anything but go Subaru ourselves, but what we can do is we can come to organizations, and everything that is done through this Shinto tab here. So we're going to assign it a control group by pressing Control 7 here and take a look here. But this is the things that we can spend the honor on. We can't buy a loud car outside, but we can buy several things. In particular, it is quite strong for the increased tax income. This is going to have 10% tax efficiency. We can have 100% uptime on this. We can also demand extra payment from them. This money is pulled from nothing, and it scales with your income. So we will get multiple thousands of ducats on a 5-year cooldown pulling from them. That is really strong in terms of our net income. Just here at game start, this is 20 months worth of income. And so being able to pull that every 5 years is absolutely insane. Beyond that, we can also if I'm not mistaken, do a Buddhist school to get some of the benefits from one of the Buddhist schools. It's been a while since I've tested this out, so I'm not 100% sure how this shakes out. This does cut our monthly honor off significantly, but it'll open us up sects. And then we can also do increased literacy, which is going to be relevant for increasing literacy very, very quickly, which is important for the current bug right now, where when pops flip religions or flip cultures, their literacy can go to 0. If their culture or religion is not present there in that combination, it will go to 0, and so this allows you to recover. But perhaps most significantly, we get access to this CB. Expand clan authority. It has to be used on someone adjacent to you. It does cost 50 honor, but you will get minus 75% subjugate cost. It's really hard to emphasize just how insane this is, but you can do stuff like subjugate France in one go, or the previous version of this used to be even more overtuned. It didn't used to be quite 75%, so maybe we can't go for something as big as that. But if we go for war score cost in multiple places, we will get enormous total reductions here, allowing us to subjugate for very, very cheap. And this will be a very significant part of a long-term strategy, which we might not play long enough to execute, but this is an incredibly potent ability. In addition to that, we do get some relatively good texts from Shinto. Works of art are relatively useless, so we will just destroy a religious offering. We will sort by which is the best and just use the worst, but we will do this and we will get 30 more purity, so we will start generating honor here every month. We can do a cleansing ritual as well. This will spend 10 prestige. I don't think that's quite worth it, considering we can just do another religious offering, because again, we do not really care about art, although I guess we care about art to the extent that it will allow us to generate purity. So our purity is maxed out. We will be getting 1 honor a month here from game start. Now, there's a lot of things going on with the Middle Kingdom, but one of them is we start out as a Celestial Governor. We will get Celestial Governor bonuses. This is going to be nice for us. We also will be able to generate money from payments from China. And this will scale with both the size of our economy and the difficulties that China is experiencing. So this will scale up quite a bit. This is half of our income. And because this doesn't count for slider expenses, our sliders are effectively extraordinarily cheap. This will allow us to really stab up quite cheaply relative to our overall net income, and this will be quite powerful for us moving forward. We will be a subject of China for the opener, and so we will be largely internally focused, but this money is extremely valuable. And then the other thing we will get from Great Yuan is when the Red Turban Rebellion pops, we will use the CB they get from the Red Turban Rebellion when they use it on us to conquer all of China very quickly. Focusing in on our geography, China has a lot of advantages. They have the best or most densely packed high premium resources in the entire game. We have several gold piles, right? We have a ton of pepper piles. Peter Piper picked a peck of pepper piles for his Korea run. We have silver in several places. We also have the premium food in rice. We have stuff like silk. We have a very solid amount of iron. We even have a big chunk of coal. I think this is the most coal-dense region in the entire world, so that is going to be good for producing porcelain, and just overall really nice profile. In addition to having a ton of QOL, we have copper, we have lead. I think we might be missing on tin specifically. Oh no, terrible. And then we have a good chunk of lumber, making price collapses relatively easy, although we will struggle with this initially because China demands a lot of lumber. And we even have 2 sand piles, which are again going to smooth things out. There's basically no fat, there's no kind of bad resources other than a few legumes and fish. And so we will probably urbanize all of these. We maybe urbanize all the sturdy grains, and then we're kind of left with just premium resources, which is absolutely incredible. We do have rough terrain, and we do have some amount of vegetation, a little bit of farmlands. That's really not our strength. We are really keyly and importantly located next to an enormous amount of population, and so we will be able to supply all of this with trade, an incredible amount of resources to these other places, and so demand for all of our resources will be high. We will make tons of money off of it. We also do have a pretty good chunk of pops, especially in areas where we have reasonably good development. We have soft expansion into really high resource areas in Japan. Notice that they have a ton of gold, they have rice, they have the silver, they have basically everything. And then also, with all of this going on, we also do have high development out and about. So we will be able to produce stuff like books, which aren't demanded until you're over 30 dev very, very easily. And as we conquer China, we will get access to all of that. But we also, in our own kind of territory, do start out with really kind of solid amounts of development. And then navally speaking, we can project control out of Inju, which is likely to be where we move the capital, very, very well to the entirety of this coastline, into the soft expanded Japan, around our own peninsula, and up into the north. And so we just have a very good setup. We do have some rivers as well, so we can make some pound lock canal channels and this type of thing, and this will be something we focus on a little bit. Alright, so in terms of internal stuff, we did slot in a harbor administration. This is going to be really useful for us early on. We have the son-in-law rule. We don't really need to sweat this too hard in terms of strategy. It's actively bad. Every time we get an option of whether to be closer to Yuan or further, we will choose further away, which will eventually get rid of this if we can get rid of all the Mongol influence. And then we also have the 3 departments, which is just going to be kind of some nice little gravy, give us some legislative efficiency for decreased antag. In terms of stuff we want to get rid of is basically just the tax exemption that we care about here, which we want to get rid of. I think that there is a reasonable argument because we flip Shinto and we want to convert our pops to Shinto, because in particular having heretics is a little bit nasty on satisfaction overall. That it would make sense for us to flip theocracy. If we flip theocracy, we're going to have a ton of clergy everywhere, and we're going to want to tax the clergy. This prevents this. So we will want to work towards deslotting this relatively early on. In terms of what we have going on for other values, we're going to leave decentralization, centralization alone. I know on a lot of previous starts we pushed centralization, but now it's just not really tenable because having a bunch of subjects is going to be the meta. There's maybe an argument for trying to push it early or to push it late when the proximity cost is going to reduce you to 0%. That's maybe in the cards for us in kind of the abstract. We don't mind the progress towards innovative, so we can leave that alone. We don't mind the progress towards spiritualist. It's just going to hang out where it is. We would eventually want to push plutocracy, but we won't be able to do it very early, at least before our first cabinet or our first parliament. But in particular, I think we're going to push free subjects early, which is maybe a little bit weird, but the prosperity is very, very strong. I do think that this is important for long-term growth and pop growth, and also we will get a little bit of extra pop growth from the reduced food consumption by the peasants and laborers, but in particular the peasant pop promotion speed is going to be something that we are pretty interested in, because overall the thing that promotes the slowest tends to be stuff like the gold. The gold is very powerful, it's very valuable, and we have to promote 1,000 laborers in a rural location because we're going to leave it rural, where they promote pretty slowly, and so very often this can throttle us, and the pop promotion speed is going to help out a lot. And there is an argument towards serfdom on 2 fronts. One, the raw materials output for all these good resources definitely kind of makes some sense. 2, there's also what we would get from here is the additional max tax for peasant estate. But if we go theocratic, the split will actually be like 40% clergy, maybe 30% nobles, and 30% peasants. So overwhelmingly, we won't have anywhere near as much tax going towards the peasants anyways. And also, this would involve us taxing the peasants' satisfaction down quite a lot. For the most part, across kind of all the lands that we are going to be conquering, they are going to have enormous amounts of peasants in them. If we have, what this means is with like 180,000 peasants and the total pop here is 190,000, peasants will super inform location satisfaction really, really hard. And so if we low tax peasants and have just higher satisfaction on the peasants, this will help us out in a couple ways. But namely, it will push overall satisfaction up quite a bit. And this is relevant because, again, we flipped to the Shinto, and this is going to present us with some difficulties. But there is maybe a strategy with Shinto where we intentionally go low honor, and if we go, or sorry, low purity, and if we go low purity, we don't generate honor. So that's the downside, but what we would get is peasant estate satisfaction equilibrium 20%, which is a bit of a vibe. And with that, trying to push serfdom would maybe make sense, but in order to be able to push serfdom, you need a lot of serfdom trend, and you have to give up a lot of free subject trend, and so or you have to give up a lot of things that give peasant satisfaction because they tend to give free subject trend. So most of these here, we will slot this in to lock in our communalism, and then we will look to kind of push a couple of these peasant reforms. I think one or two will do. We are specifically looking for ones that are going to push our free subject trend in terms of what we are going for. We'll choose mobility for the common people as well to allow them to move around, and so that'll give us some progress towards free subjects. We're taking a look and eyeballing our kind of satisfaction on these guys, and maybe we put in a couple that are some key or important ones of these, stuff that is going to be generally in the burghers here. We can go for a little bit of the treasury rights and urban development grants. I think will be reasonable here because these are just generally really strong. I do think that urban development grants gives progress towards innovative as well, so yeah, that'll work out for us. We don't want to actually... Let's not piss off these guys too much. I think we can grab something that will be useful for us in here. We don't want to grab nobility controlled serfdom, even though we will want it eventually, because of this will be giving us progress towards serfdom, and we're going to push free subjects early. But that will be something that we are interested in a little bit later. Why don't we secure ourselves a little bit of an extra push towards innovative, and that'll be kind of nice for ourselves. So we have good satisfaction on our estates. Now we're pushing quite a bit towards innovative, and more importantly, we're pushing quite a bit towards free subjects. There aren't any other values we want to actively try and push. Naval is maybe going to be in the cards. We are going to make our leader in charge of the Navy. That way we don't backslide in there, and also harbor administration will help us to not backslide, but we will send him on over to here as well. Want to have him kind of secured in the capital, because the capital is going to have the earliest hospital. And so, oh, now it's actually kicked in. So yeah, the harbor administration will prevent backslide here. We will be okay keeping traditional economy in the short term. And then we have also locked in communalism, so we are not backsliding. This is importantly giving us additional revoke privilege cost, which is going to help us out for revoking the taxes. And so we're in pretty good shape. We also have some progress towards synthesize. This is not a standard one. You do have to be influenced, but this is going to be one that's useful for us to gain more of. We will choose events that gain us more, but we can't really push it actively that easily because we already have 70, but trade capacity, monthly research speed, legislative efficiency, and also that sweet ducats from Yuan while we are getting it is going to be quite strong for us. Alright, so we have also put a crown power character in charge of the army that we have here, which is going to give us 25% crown power. We put one in cabinet. We're going to promote him to head of cabinet. This is going to give us an additional 37% total crown power modifier. I think that we will have this guy be dedicated to stability, at least at this point in time, because that is going to be a little bit of a tender point for us. And then this guy we will have to change our societal values and push us towards free subjects. We're going to be able to pick up more free subject trend. Currently we're trending towards around 0.5. We will probably be able to secure for ourselves maybe around 70 or 80, and by focusing this on the opener we can push a lot of our stuff. We can just double down in a lot of different spots, like for example the noble mining law. We can change this to the commoner controlled mining law in our first parliament, this type of stuff, and look to push like 80 to 90 of this, and then we will be able to put in stuff that gives progress towards serfdom that we are going to be wanting anyways, stuff like as we had mentioned, the nobility controlled serfdom, which is definitely a very solid privilege, but very obviously we can get this out of the way first. Also, you notice there's a few sources of peasant food consumption that are out and about. There's an additional 5% from Shinto, so we will be getting 25% reduction on peasant food consumption, which is going to be quite nice. You can't stack it to like minus 100%, there's not enough sources of it, but the more of it we stack, the more valuable it becomes as a modifier, and the pop growth that you get from large food storage in a province, maybe we can see it, this is going to scale with the amount of months of food you have. So the less food you have consumed, the more pop growth you can get from this modifier. We will also be getting another cabinet action from sign administrative policy, but we will probably just put that on dev province or something somewhere. We will also kind of do the research. In particular, we have unlocked all these Shinto techs. Pretty nice, pretty early on is the peasant estate satisfaction equilibrium. They have 5% now, and they have 5% in the late game as well. This is going to be quite nice, but we're just going to beeline this, and then we will not need institution growth because we won't be touching institutions for some time here. The maximum RGO size in rural is maybe something that we are going to be wanting, but I think that we will probably get maybe one of these, and then we will be into the next age. In particular, we will be waiting for the revoke privilege cost here before revoking any privileges, so don't want to jump the gun too much on that. As far as what we're going to be doing with our sliders, we will slide down this, we will slide down the fort maintenance, and we will look to delete, I think, all of our forts. I don't think we need it, I don't think we need the Diplo spending, but we will go full bore on cost of court and stability, and we will also lock in as much tax as we can, at least right now. We might low tax the peasants later. We will no tax the tribes. We do want to tax the clergy, but we can't, and we will uptick our minting to kind of get things set up. And so we are seeing kind of a margin right here of 40, but it will get a bit larger once the trades kick in. Our spend down is actually incredibly straightforward. We do not have price collapses except on, or we do not have current price collapses except on the masonry. Masonry is the only thing that is cheap for us, and it's only cheap for us right now. It's not going to stay cheap. We will look to expand the masonry out later, but we see, hey, the granaries, we probably don't need those in an immediate future. So we're going to go and we're going to type in granary. We're going to lock these out. We're also going to do the same for carpenters or furniture makers. So we're going to lock these guys out as well. We would lock out lacquerware, but we're not producing any because our price collapse is going to be a very long time coming. It's going to be very difficult for us to get this. We currently have quite a bit of burger imports, but not only that, burgers are going to be really aggressive about exporting because the Chinese markets are going to demand lumber, and they're going to have really huge shortages because they build lacquerware. And so by getting rid of some of the demand here for the carpentry, that is going to help out a little bit. We could turn off the weaponsmiths as well. I think we won't for now, but what we're going to be facing is the wood is not cheap right now. It's not going to be cheap for some time. We need to get more wood. In order to get wood, we would love to get expand out the lumber, and we have lumber RGOs. Not too big a problem. However, lumber RGOs are not price collapsed, which means we need cheaper tools. And so tools are going to be the first thing we solve, and then we're going to solve lumber and also our kind of lack of masonry. But we are short on tools as well. And we see the blade masters, bladesmiths again being kind of maybe the issue here. So maybe we actually shut these down. We didn't do this in the practice run, but this is maybe going to be one where we could shut down the weaponsmiths and actually kind of solve multiple problems, and they're really not making a lot of money. So let's actually close the weaponsmiths for now, which will make our guys import it, but we're just trying to secure these cheap prices so that we can get our loop going. And our loop is, of course, we just want a ton of RGOs, we want trade, we want masonry, and we want lumber. So what we have kind of for our initial salvo here is 6 stack of tools in a place that is a city, so it's going to build 2 at a time, so they're just 3 queued in a row. These will also incidentally have decent kind of demand, so they will be pretty productive, or we will make a decent chunk of money off of them. And then in the capital, we are expanding out just some stuff that is going to add quite a bit of money. You could see for the predictor for the levels, you can't see the predictor for the levels. Well, it was something like 5 ducats for the Jewelers Guild and 2 ducats for the Tailors Guild, but the Tailors Guild is lying because there actually is more demand for fine cloth than the price kind of suggests, or there will be. The price is kind of even here. It's going to go up, and we only have burgers importing right now. So with the burgers importing, our supply is actually worth less in terms of effective demand. And so the effective supply is less than the effective demand. So this means the price should be above 6, but it's not. So the price of this is going to roughly double, and it will become very lucrative over time. So that is kind of where our opening salvo is going for. But what we are going to be doing after this is looking to secure the masonry and the lumber specifically, and then doing a whole bunch of other stuff. stuff. Really where our big inflection point is going to come kind of in a few months when we get up to 10 honor and we can get the 10% tax efficiency, and then following the 10% tax efficiency, we can get just gobs and gobs of free money another 10 months later than that. So just wanted to note that with all the crown power modifiers that we had set up for ourselves, from having the king in command, having a guy in the cabinet, and also having the crown have head of cabinet, this has gotten us from 16% crown power to 25% crown power, which incidentally dilutes out the clergy. The clergy, this revoke was 90 before we unpaused. Now it is down to 68. So heading along quite nicely on that front. Alright, so we will increase the tax income here. An extra 10% tax efficiency, that is going to be quite nice. Brings our income up a little bit, and we are up to 30%, a whopping 30% tax efficiency. We don't even have that much on the max tax, but we do have a bunch of tax efficiency. Now, I think we're going to continue to push the free subjects things that we can push in here. We don't really need the levies. We can raise up regulars, and so we will throw this in as well now that we have a little bit more legitimacy. Keeping an eye on this, in particular, we don't want that to dip too low. We don't want to be subjugated to a revolution, especially because all of our guys are the wrong religion. So I think we'll look to try and keep this above 40%. And since we don't want to really kind of throw in, well, we could throw in noble navy right now. It's not the big deal. Let's throw in noble navy. That'll keep those guys satisfied. And then when we have a little bit more time, we will look to throw in urban development grants as well, getting the monthly development. That'll be quite nice. Don't want to push it off too much. Interestingly, if you flip something like Sunni, petty bureaucracy actually becomes insanely strong because you get 10% tax efficiency, and then all your guys will be dhimmi anyways, so the max tax penalty is not important whatsoever. We have some stuff that will progress towards plutocracy, but we're not really ready to push it just quite yet. We will be kind of in the market for stuff that pushes innovative though, because I do think we maybe push that soonish. I guess it's not too much of a priority just because we might stall out on our tech a little bit. It takes kind of a little bit of time for institutions to reach us, and so having research speed super early is a little bit less useful when you're this far east. So because we have a little bit of a sticky opener, what we're going to do is we're actually going to pin these. These will follow the price in our kind of local market or our home market. In particular, we care about tools, we care about lumber, and we also care about masonry right now, and so we can pin all of these and they will be in our outliner, and so we can keep an eye on them. So we know tools are down a little bit, as is lumber. Both of these are going to be relevant. Masonry we do have to keep an eye on because we are going to be building so much. It's going to be easy for us to kind of spike the masonry price out of kind of the normal atmosphere of where we will be able to get a discount. But you can see here with the tools price down, we do have lumber is cheap for us to produce, and with the lumber price down, I don't know if we have the full collapse. We do have the full collapse here on stuff like silver as well. So what we'll do is we'll look to expand out the premium RGOs with the amount of money we have, which incidentally, we haven't even clicked the button for free Shinto money. We're going to expand out RGOs specifically that are near the capital and are going to be having lumber. We care about near the capital for lumber quite a lot because near the capital affects control, which affects pop promotion speed. And then after that, we can come in here and just do by most profitable, looking to put kind of a couple in. In particular, the silver is underreported in terms of how much of it we want, as is the dyes, because these will generally trade pretty well. And so we'll expand a little bit more of these and look to get a bunch of these in here. I think that this could be good, and then we just look to expand out a little bit of lumber so we can maintain the price collapse a little bit. I think deactivating the weaponsmiths was really the way to go. We didn't do that in our practice run, and it's making this feel a whole lot smoother than our practice run, so that's probably what we want to be in on. We're going to expand out the gold here as well and get things going there. Look to push the premiums. That way we can also get the promotions going. Because once these have built out and once we have maxed out the amount of laborers we have, we will be getting additional promotions. Or like expanding out one and then 5 months later expanding out another one is better than expanding two at the same time, because we'll have to promote 2,000 guys, which incidentally this free subjects is going to really help us to promote pops faster. Because if we look at the pop promotion speed here, And this is going to get even worse in kind of our far away locations. We're really not promoting that many guys. 12 or 10 base, and then we're getting a bunch from free subjects and literacy of subjects, but lack of control is going to be an issue. So when we come over here and we look at how much promotion happening, it's only 6. And if we didn't have free subjects at all, it would be quite a lot worse, because these two together is around 50%. And so this 50% is going up to 65%. So we're effectively getting a 30% more pop promotion speed by our free subjects that we currently have. We're going to have a whole lot more of it. And so that's going to allow us to expand out our RGOs as quickly as possible, especially in these far off areas that don't really have a lot of control yet. As a part of flavor, we do get a just free war on Huaju, which of course we will declare, and we will look to wrap them up quite quickly. After this, we will get claims on the remainder of Guan Buk and Guan Xiao, which we will be able to get once they are independent from Great Yuan, and we are as well. So we have a mod for auto expansion. We're gonna in Goju set up an auto expand on a sand pit. We do want to make sure that we procure some sand, and we don't want to sweat it too hard. But maybe it's worth it for us to highlight sand here as well, because we are going to want to build roads. Roads will not. We don't want to wait for the burghers to build all of our roads. We do have the sand here, which we expanded out twice, and we're gonna expand out the sand here twice. Just look to lock in our price. That way we can kind of try and set up a price collapse on roads, because in particular, sand, you have to collapse it a whole ton to get the full price collapse on roads. Roads are generally pretty expensive, but they will allow us to get a whole lot of value, and so we will be going for that as we kind of look to tidy up this little bit of a war. It's just levies against professionals and a whole ton of levies, so there's not much they could really do here. The time has come. The time has come for us to receive our free ducats. How much ducats, you ask? Buckets of ducats. When we looked at this at the start of the game, it was 800. It's now 1600. It scales with our income. So we're going to demand extra payment from the shogunate court. I don't know exactly what happens when the shogunate court disappears in terms of this, but this is just going to hyper accelerate our start here. So we will get 1600 ducats. At getting 60 ducats, kind of a pop here, this represents like 30 months worth of income. So this is like just saying you get 60% more income, kind of in terms of how it is operating effectively. What we will do is we will remember to do this every time we pop a parliament. We're right about to pop a parliament, so we'll lose out on 4 months, but every single parliament, we will click all of the buttons because they are on 5 years cooldowns. This makes it easy for us to remember, and so every 5 years we will be getting, 60% additional income here. So we decided to put down market villages on all of our premium resources for the possible burghers. This will tick up quite nicely for extra literacy, especially because we swapped our religion at game start rather than, waiting some time to do it. So hopefully we get some literate burghers. The literacy on the burghers will give additional promotions. Normally, this is pretty quick and straightforward to put it down on your premiums, but, suffering from success, we need to put down 27 market village to cover all of our premium resources. That does take a while, but what we are looking for, if to come into take a look at some like literacy modifiers here, what we're looking for is the local dev growth here, which is going to be nice for us. Also, these buildings aren't like dead buildings as well. They are going to use production methods. They can produce tools, not at that high kind of a rate. They can produce tools, weapons, kind of whatever you need. A little bit of Swiss Army knife, not that efficient, but they're also going to give us a local food capacity, which will help with the pop growth, and also a little bit of extra market access. So we'll get more money from these RGOs because they will have more market access, so it'll add more to the tax base, which is significant because these are on our premium resources. We're not just putting them wherever, although we'll put more down wherever. And also we are getting 0.1 trade capacity, so this will represent roughly 3 markets worth of trade cap. But there's there's more. We still have a ton of money. How many money? Buckets. Buckets of what? Buckets of ducats. I almost typed buckets of ducats into the search bar. And so we are also going to look to just expand out the marketplaces themselves. And we want to keep our promotions going in a lot of our spots. And so I think what we're going to do in all of our far off places, we're just going to add 1 marketplace and try and keep these guys going and make sure that they keep promoting up, because also our markets are just insanely productive in terms of how much value we're getting per trade. Yeah, let's take a quick look at our trades. We're getting 1 to 5 ducats per trade here. And this is going to just get better and better as we expand out a lot of these RGOs, because this is what we're trading, is we're trading away the RGOs that we're expanding out. We're not trading away, or at least not too much. We're actually importing fine cloth, so that'll go away once we expand the fine cloth. We're looking to get more of these. Also, we will continue in Kaesong to really kind of push stuff. We have a lot of promotion speed because it does have max control, right? So it's not losing any from negative stuff. So we're getting like plus, what is this, like 80%. It will promote up very fast, so we will be able to keep the promotions kicking in there very easily. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be sorting by most profitable. Look at that from the Tailors Guild, from downtown. That's why we added 2 at the start. We'll add another 2 to the queue. In particular, we are getting a production bonus on this as well, because we do have dyes here, and we're getting a production bonus on the jewelers as well. So a very, very nice province is this Kaesong province. We are using Dev province with that extra cabinet action we picked up. It is going to be a 7-location province featuring a silver and a dye, as well as some farmland and reasonably high pop. We got 1 farmland here. That's where we will be moving the capital to. Some flatland and flatland woods on the silver. It's going to be pretty nice to get additional dev there because we will get more levels. We still have some more money, so what we're going to do is we're going to mass build settlements. We're going to plop down all, we're going to shift click there, and that's going to spend the rest of our cash. In fact, we were going to upgrade Inju. This is going to be the future capital because it's just a better location. It has harbor capacity, but we will just finish out the mass build on these, which will generate for us a whole lot of population growth. We see that we do have a little bit extra. We're going to check how much money we're making on the Toolers Guild. Not all that much, but we do want to keep the price collapse in place. So why don't we actually consult over here? What's going on here? Well, we have a huge dearth of masonry. We really lack on the masonry, and the reason why is because we're building so much, and the reason we're building so much is because we're ridiculously rich and also very handsome. So what we will be doing, or beautiful to the ladies out there, so what we will be doing is we are going to look for a place that is making stone or clay. We see that this province is making clay and this is making that, and so we're going to look to expand out the masons in these locations. And so we will start to kick these in when we don't have the price collapse we want, specifically looking at this province, which has stone, and this one, which has clay. We really do get everything. We even have, the stone and the clay. We have another province over here that we can turn to. I think we even have a province that has coal and clay, and it's like the only province in the game that has both of them, with both of these being a requirement for porcelain. Maybe not, we're not so lucky, but we have like half the coal nodes in the game, basically, when you look at Greater Korea. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's a whole lot of coal. Alright, it's time for our first parliament. We really know what we want here, so we're going to host up. We just want kind of as much support as possible, unless there's something insane. There is not, so we're going to go, it doesn't matter between the two of these. Monthly progress towards defensive. Okay, so I think that there's a world where defensive is actually better, but when you're having offensive wars, it's actually ridiculously hard to push defensive without any investment. We don't want any investment, so we will look to shirk away from that progress towards defensive. So with that said, we will go increase ties to neighbors, not that we're trying to pass it. With this extra stuff, looks like we'll be able to push communal values. Bellicose isn't terrible, traditional is not that bad, but okay, this is going to be all we get is the support here. We're just going to go for a little law change, and normally what you try and get off of is traditional distribution of power onto something like favor the ruler. And I do think that this would be quite strong, but we're getting a lot of income from 2 sources that are not tax. We're actually not getting that much from tax, although we are getting quite a bit from taxing the common people. We're getting a ton from payments, and we're actually getting a big chunk from trade. Our trade is going very, very well. So, with that said, what we're going to do is we are going to do something I've never done before. We're going to favor the common people. This is also going to allow us to push free subjects quite strongly as well. The agenda impact for commoners is increased. That's not really relevant towards us. This will give them more food consumption. This is going to be pretty bad in the long term, but we just want to maximize our peasant kind of push while we can here. And so what this is going to do is going to put in another 0.9 towards free subject, our free subject trend. So we're going to be trending up towards 71 here, which is quite strong. If we had enough juice, we would also look to switch on the mining law to the commoner controlled mining law, which is going to give us another bit of progress towards free subjects, so up to 0.81. And then on top of that, what the plan is here is going to be in the Age of Renaissance. We do have an extra gov reform slot, slotting in this for an additional 0.05 progress towards free subjects. We could also maybe try and see if we have any serfdom trend, anything that's giving serfdom trend, that is going to be pushing us in the wrong direction here. It doesn't look like we have anything that's giving us serfdom trend, but that is going to be quite a big kind of opener for us, getting over 80 free subject kind of push here, which is going to help a lot with the prosperity, because currently we don't have we're not doing good in the prosperity department because we're not doing that good in the satisfaction department, but we will be doing better in the satisfaction department as we put in more stuff for the common people, because they over-inform satisfaction. But normally this is a big good source of this. A lot of these guys have low satisfaction because of religion reasons, because they are going to be not Shinto pops. You can see the Shinto nobles here, 46% satisfaction. The Buddhist nobles, 21% satisfaction. So this is really what's dragging us down. As we get more conversion, this will kind of sort itself out, but that'll be a while. Alright, so we pipped the event that gives us 25% support, which is fantastic for us. So we're actually going to be able to get this law change in this kind of track here. And so we will swap onto commoner controlled mining operations here, which is going to be fantastic. We finish the parliament, we get -7 stab, who cares? We're also building a boat. We're going to start pushing maritime presence with galleys relatively early. However, because we can roll winter here, we do have to be a little bit careful. I do think we have the winter. Yeah, you can see where we have the winter. This is going to give our navies attrition. I do believe if we set them to patrol and then patrol them one sea zone per province, this will take care of that. We also loaded in, we low rolled just having 4 transport ships, so we're just going to leave those guys at home with the king in charge for the additional crown power here. But with this finishing, we will be able to show exactly how we are microing this. We're just going to bring on over the ship, and then once the ship is on over here, we only need to patrol one province. We're going to patrol right outside Kaesong, and then what we're going to do is we're going to have him sit out here, and then we're going to set him to patrol the seas, and we're just going to patrol this location, because all we need him to do is to lock down this province, because him being here will increase the amount of maritime presence in the entirety of the Korea West Sea. And so we are going to make different stacks of these for every single one of these seas. It'll take him a while to push up the Korea West Sea. In fact, he will not be able to do it to its entirety at all. But we are going to be adding additional galleys here because we need more control in order to really ramp up the amount of value we're going to be getting from all these locations that are going to be producing an enormous amount of tax space. You can see all these 1917s. This isn't good. We could build bailiffs to try and solve this, but we could actually solve this relatively early if we can get the naval up. And so the traditional galley is going to be an important one for us. We'll just expand out 5 of them here, which will have the queue up for some time. But this is also going to make, in terms of the tech, a little bit of a priority for the Mediterranean galley, which is going to be giving a bit more maritime. You can see here it gives 12, Bark gives 14, although this is going to be less efficient at getting rid of pirates. It's really not all that bad at pushing maritime, and so that's going to be an important tech for us once the next stage hits. Alright, so this is what we were referring to with the little bit of an opener discussion about the son-in-law rule. We will have options to try and break free. This will cause us to have some issues. If we remove all of the Mongolian Yangban characters, we will be able to remove the son-in-law rule. Character interaction banished can be used to remove supporters of the Yuan. So I think we're going to do that, and then we're going to come in. It's been a little while since we've taken a look at this, but we're going to look at people, we're going to look at characters, and we're going to sort. I think we could sort by culture? No, we can't sort by culture. Or maybe we can here. Okay, so I think it's going to be male characters that are adults that matter here. And so what we've done is we've sorted by male, we've sorted by adult, and what we're going to do is we're going to just look for anyone who is Mongolian and look to exile them. So this guy, we will look to banish. Ooh, 20 stab. 20 stab is a vibe. That's going to be a little bit too much for us to really kind of want to do this. But we will continue to choose events that will antagonize Great Yuan. And we will also look to send them an insult. We want to keep bad relations with them. But we don't want to declare an independence war. This might be a little bit faster than the way we're going to be rolling it. I don't know what an optimized run for this exactly looks like. And we're just trying to do proof of concept rather than something that's perfect. But I'm pretty sure waiting for the Red Turban Rebellion is going to be the way to go. Because I don't know if we can fight the amount of levies that they have. We probably actually even can. I think we're supposed to wait for the Red Turban to pop, though. Alright, so we get one of these events. We can either welcome this guy to court. He is Mongolian, so we won't be. Interesting that the Emperor is sending Shinto representatives, but we'll put that aside for now. And then we will just move him to Great Yuan instead. This just tanks opinion, and so we will have a rather negative opinion with Great Yuan here from some things, including, I believe, us swapping religion. Looks like mutual hostile stance, womp womp. The insult acted against Yuan's interest. That'll change up pretty quick. But with damaged relations, I do believe we get more events that are kind of more in the neighborhood of what we want for getting them off of our back. We've also looked to add a couple roads here, and we see that some roads are being added on our behalf as well. And I think what we're going to do here is we are going to actually look to move the capital. So we're going to take another pip of income, and then we are going to make it so we earn 0 income. Moving the capital, that's 2,000. We can't afford that. This is only going to scale up. What we're instead going to do is we're going to slide down everything, and we're going to deactivate all of our market villages, or sorry, all of our markets. And the reason why is we're trying to tank our income, because the cost of moving the capital scales with this. And so we're going to do all that. We're going to come into buildings, and we're going to go look for marketplaces, and we are going to temporarily close these buildings just for 1 week. Or 1 month rather, just so we can hit a pip. And so, oh no, we're losing tons of money. This is terrible. What do we do? Well, what we do is now we can move the capital a little bit easier. Now the cost has gone down to 661 and 20 stabs. So we will move it on over to Inju. The reason why we're moving it now is we're seeing that the our burghers are starting to construct roads. We want the roads to be oriented around Inju. Inju is going to be the long-term capital because this is where we have a better natural harbor. It's just going to overall be a better location. It's kind of at the... It can push towards Kaesong and towards Gwangju pretty well. And so this is where we would prefer to have it. And swapping now is going to be cheaper than swapping later. And so we will put everything back up and we will turn the marketplaces back on. And we will get a nice little 1,200 discount on our marketplaces. Also, just wanted to draw attention to kind of this little phenomena here. We started with a tax base of 70. We've basically tripled it in just a few years here. Coming up on the 5th year, entering into the next stage, we've already tripled our tax base. I think it might even be no, it's not going to quadruple by the time we pip this, because we don't have anything really constructing. A lot of things that, or what is primarily throttling us here is going to be promotion speed, though. We're keeping an eye on this. We do want to make sure that we are getting price collapses. Looks like we have one on lumber, which we didn't have before, but as you can see here, this is throttling us, right? These lack of promotions, and this is another reason why getting this stuff in is going to be useful. The lack of control, the negative modifier here, we can get rid of that by kind of building up these roads, which we are starting to push, and also from generating maritime presence, because as we generate maritime presence, that's going to make the segments here cost a whole lot less, and we can get these down to around 3 or 4 in terms of overall cost, and so that'll really open up the amount of pop promotions we're getting in some of these other areas, because what's throttling us is not our ability to pay for expansions on these, it's the promotion speed here. Also, maybe worth noting, exiting Kaesong is costing a 7 proximity here. It's going to be cheaper from the new capital. Alright, so the capital move is about to finish here. The capital move has finished. We pip January 1st. We are going to get the Age of Renaissance, but before we take a look at that, just taking a look at what the cost for exiting... Why is this so expensive? Huh? Pump the phone. Hold the brakes. There is harbor capacity here of 15%, and then a harbor capacity here of 65%. It should be cheaper to exit on the proximity here. Why is it not cheaper to exit? I'm so confused, actually. Alright, I realized what it was. Anytime you have a river that is exiting, wherever location it exits from the sea into, this location gets the reduction, the equivalent of the road reduction, so it's only at 10 base. So even though the percentage reduction on this is going to be smaller, or from Kaesong to enter this, because we have, our base is 40 instead, this is going to be quite a bit more expensive. And so... it's around an additional 6, so we have like 4 or 5 less control. But long term, this is going to get better because we will eventually be able to get all these numbers all together to add up to 100%. Right now, it looks like 11%, 60%, 65-ish percent. We will be able to immediately improve that with a wharf, which is going to reduce the remaining amount by 10%. So from 65% to like 75%. So this will reduce the proximity cost of the segment to around 10. And then as we get to docks, it'll reduce it even more down to around 7. So it'll be break-even-ish. And then as we get more and more stuff, that will be a little bit better. One of the things we will be getting is an additional 5% proximity cost reduction that we are going to be getting, I think, from local infrastructure here. We could make an argument for, if we were doing a world conquest or intending on doing it, we would pick Diplo for the war score cost, but we're going to pick administrative focus here instead, which is going to give us a little bit of proximity, which is going to be nice, and we do want to stack that up. We do have the potential, I believe, once we become Middle Kingdom, to push minus 100% proximity cost, especially because we are getting some from our tag. And also, there's a little bit of a thing where when we form China, eventually, theoretically, it's not going to be a tier 4 tag, so we could do something like China into Delhi or even the Ottomans, in theory, but we're not going to get that far. That's just the theory. Now, if I knew these events better, when we hit demands of the Mongol aristocrats, it might be the case that we just want to do as the Emperor wishes here, but we're going to currently tell him to shove it, which is going to really hit negative relations quite a lot. I do believe once we hit enough negative relations, this works, but that is going to be a bit of an uncomfortable one. I think that just adds on to the acted against Yuan's interest, but that is a 20 stab hit. Fortunately, we have been max stab spending this entire time, and look, it's only 16 ducats to do that. It's only 5 ducats for cost of court. Our margin is 40 ducats at this juncture, and we even forgot to decrease our fort maintenance. I think actually we forgot to delete our forts. That is a little bit of an awkward one. We have 2 different types of defensive buildings. We have the stockades as well. I kind of like the stockades a little bit. I do think that if the stockade is defending a province capital, we're just going to keep it. And then we are going to look to delete the forts, yeah. Eventually we will just kind of throw 2 forts up at the entrance here, and they will be able to block off the entire ingress. As long as we control the seas, we'll be in good shape, but that will get us a little additional margin here as well, and also decrease demand for some of the things that are used to support forts like tar. Alright, so we hit the last of the Age 1 tech we were going for, a little bit of extra RGO max size, which is going to be really valuable for us. Just kind of a reminder where we're at with the maritime here. This is going to be giving 0.08, so the upgrade does give 50% more. And so I think what we're going to do is really kind of value quite heavily that rush towards getting the galleys. And so I think the galleys are also in a decent place. Well, actually, there's a little bit of kind of wiggle room in terms of what we are going for and why, but I think we're going to go for the Mediterranean galley here, just kind of at the initial outset, and then go for source of knowledge. I don't think this is necessarily a super uber rush, just because I think that there's a chance that we're going to have research that's blanked or research that's not useful whatsoever, and so getting the research speed as quickly as possible is maybe not that important, but we will go for that. And then all estate satisfaction equilibrium, it's basically right here, so I think we'll go for that. Also attractive is the monthly literacy, but I think we'll burn that bridge when we get to it, so we'll go for that there. And then on the other side we also have a sutra for additional research progress. This is kind of in line with some of the things we want, which is a bunch of RGO size stuff. We're not really capped on the RGOs just quite yet, so not entirely sure if we need to go for that next, but I think we're just going to queue it up. And then after this, heretical beliefs satisfaction is going to be really nice because we of course have a lot of heretics, courtesy of Shinto being pretty solid in this regard. Roads are starting to come in. Some of them we have been building, some of them our estates have been building. In particular, it's worth noting that the roads are going to override vegetation, so roads in this area overriding the penalty, or not override vegetation in its entirety, but overriding the penalty for proximity impact. This is going to be pretty significant, but they will not be useful going up and down rivers, specifically in those segments, other than overriding the vegetation, because we are already going to be having a little bit of the 30 discount from going up or downstream on the rivers, which is kind of puts Inju in a pretty good spot because we will be pushing in this direction, but also it will give additional from the roads. We will be getting additional 25% has road to development. So in particular, we are going about trying to add proximity in a reasonable way, where we are not connecting the roads as quickly as possible to Inju, but rather looking to override both vegetation penalties, like the road that is coming out of here, and also getting dev for premium resources. So we have a road there, coming in there. We also built a road here for the pepper, and this is going to be how we kind of employ this strategy. And so what we'll do is we'll look around, we'll look, hey, the silver, it's on a mountain, it's on mountain forest. We could override a lot of penalties. Are we getting some amount of proximity? We're kind of getting proximity there, not too well. The proximity is probably going to be coming through here. So what we could do is we could connect the silver and the wool. What this will do is it'll override the forest penalty on both of them, and will allow both of them to start developing stuff. And we suspect that the silver is probably going to come through anyways. Silver is already using its production though, so we'll build from this guy to over here. And in this way, we've kind of selected the road for ourselves that is going to be giving probably a little bit of additional control to this location, but also probably quite a bit of control to this location by overriding the issues that this location and this location have with the forest. The 25% proximity penalty, it should pop up quite a bit, and then also increasing development gain for both of these. And wool's a fine enough resource too. Alright, time to get our free money. 2,000 ducats. Okay. Also, I think we're going to hold on to, we have like another 40 or so. We could increase literacy, but I think that kind of want to see what Favor the Kami Warship and Favor the other one are exactly about. I'm not exactly sure. Well, this one's really straightforward. I want to see exactly how the Buddhist school works. We've tested it before, but I don't remember how it works, and so we are going to see. But this monthly honor minus 0.5 is a little bit of a concern, but if we get a good enough trade-off, we still have enough, even if we're generating half as much honor at our current kind of trajectory. Taking a look here, we are still generating enough to get CBs, to get the gold, to get the 100% upkeep on also the tax efficiency as well, and have enough left over to occasionally click other buttons. And so that is maybe appealing depending on what we can pull out here. But our parliament is going real bad. We got naval infrastructure. We maybe can pass this. We do want to pass it for the progress towards naval, but not a whole lot of options here. A little bit of a kind of low roll in terms of what we can click for. We're going to wait until we regain some satisfaction so that we can have a little bit of a better click here. I think that we do want to push plutocracy. at some point, which is one of the reasons why I'm kind of not that keen on going for Elite Council, which is normally what we do here for a little bit of better parliament. But in order to get a better parliament, we also need 20% estate power here. So just kind of maybe in a little bit of a lull period that is going to be a little bit rough for us overall. We're also suffering from the pirates as well, trying to generate some of the maritime presence. That is the thing that is kind of holding us back here. You can see pirates of the West Korea coastline. In order to get rid of these guys, we're either going to have to go to war with these guys at some point that are down here, which we were hoping to gain a CB through Parliament on, maybe have a good Parliament, and so that won't be this Parliament. Or we were hoping or we need light ships to kind of patrol out those guys. So maybe we're kind of pumping the brakes on here. But to the extent that we're maybe not, we are going to want to specifically urbanize on the coast, especially now that we have a bunch of money. We have a full discount, and by urbanizing, we will give ourselves more potential burghers, clerics, all these types of stuff, which will have more consumption, but the burghers specifically, expanding out for the burghers, will help us to get better parliaments in the future, because once these guys are above 20%. So what we're looking for is places that are close to the capital, preferably on the coast, that have trash resources. That building over is going to be not so bad, because we do want to expand out specifically for wharfs for additional sailors. Also, that extra harbor capacity is going to help out. We can push this in the capital, I think. Maybe not that much. We can also use auto expand, but I don't want to use it too much this early because it's not necessarily going to be that good. But we're mainly just pushing up the things that we had started out, and we will start branching out pretty soon into other industries. Specifically, look for a place to produce regular fabric, this type of stuff. And one of the ways in which we can find out what we want to be building is sorting by goods balance, stuff that has a really negative balance that we can go for. This would make some sense, but it's all RGOs. Yeah. It's all RGOs all the time for us for kind of this opener here as Korea. Alright, so pretty big spend down. We also decided to add in a bunch of roads here, or sorry, not roads, bridges on the roads, which are going to be useful. Adding a few more roads. Roads aren't kind of at the edge of where roads are really going to be pushing proximity in addition to kind of some of the secondary effects, so backing off them a little bit, but urbanizing in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 locations. All are high pop or relatively high pop with not so good resource or other reason for us to be kind of building over them. In particular here, the entry here is going to be a little bit cheaper. If I recall correctly, not there. The entry down here is going to be a little bit cheaper for the river phenomena we had in the previous capital, where proximity upstream going across river, it's benefiting from the reduction. I don't think it's supposed to be, but if it is, this is going to be a nice little place to get some harbor capacity, build a bridge, this type of stuff. It's on a river because it will feed into and act as a little bit of a hub for these locations down here where there is a whole ton of peppers. So the pepper flowing through here, the spice will flow through this location, and we will be able to expand it out more, and we will get those tasty, tasty pop promotions, because again, that's the thing that's throttling us. We would just expand out the RGOs more, but instead of upgrading all these cities, but they are all waiting to promote more pops, and we have just gobs and gobs of cash. So this is the way we are spinning up our economy to help facilitate this. Also, all these upgrades are going to give us sailors, which is basically a resource we are completely out of, where we are hoping to equalize here. And also, all these places are on the coast. They are going to help us to push this specific sea zone, the Korea West Sea. If we take a look at the maritime presence, this is also an important modifier, where we see Inju is giving a bonus here. The Second Navy is giving a bonus. These other locations are going to give bonuses, but part of where it's coming from is the harbor capacity. And so when we build the wharfs, this will help to push up these individual locations and allow us to get some escape velocity, where once this starts turning blue, the rest of, this, that is our control map mode, will start turning a little green. Alright, so last time we fought one of these wars, it was some time ago, and it might have changed, but our ability to enforce anything on it was non-substantive with the anti-piracy war CB. However, can't conquer, can't subjugate. However, if we can just prevent them from ever pirating our lands again, this will be a huge boon, because right now that's the cause of us decaying out. We're getting minus 0.23 here, right? And so I think that we will look to declare this war now that we have the CB, now that they've done their piracy, and go for the anti-piracy war if we are able to. No, we are not able to because we are a subject. Womp womp. Alright, so we have finished up pushing as much as we can, 85, or 86 rather, towards free subjects, which is quite a lot. This is pretty nice here. We will swap over our cabinet action to start pushing on plutocracy. We will go for the last of the privileges that we have that can push plutocracy. And then also, I think there's a little bit more we can do to get the trend start going. Well, once the law finishes, we actually will be starting to push in that direction, but we will change on to a couple of laws that will help out. We will also get rid of this that we had slot in exchange for going for plutocratic ethos. Incidentally, this will help us with the bad parliaments too, so that'll actually be pretty nice right now. And then once we have that in, and it ticks up all the way, we should be pushing a decent amount towards plutocracy, looking to override the aristocracy here. And the stuff that we have been holding off on putting in, like nobility-controlled serfdom, because it has serfdom trend, we can put this in now. And that's good, because this guy really, really upset in terms of the satisfaction. And so that'll help things out, smooth things over, and also eventually give us a more tax. Also, these guys, their power will be decreased as we push down aristocracy, and proportionally the burgher power will rise. Also, when we start getting positive burgher trend, we will get additional burghers here, which is going to help them out quite a lot for pushing up their power so that we can start getting them in parliament as well. So things are kind of shaking out good. We're like 10 years in, and it's looking like we might, in not next parliament, but the parliament after, we might be having the burghers in there, which will be really nice because they are the ones who are going to allow us to do stuff like push naval. So it looks like Yuan is going to collapse soon. Their satisfaction is very low in a bunch of plot spots, and this is kind of the timing, if I recall correctly, that this happens. We also have the Black Plague. It hasn't popped up on the map yet, but we're going to start floating a lot of gold, and if we see it on the map, we'll build a bunch of hospitals. It doesn't always come to Asia, but also we have incense so that we can properly use the pest houses if we are so inclined, which I think we will be because we want to preserve our population. Also, at this point, it's probably going to be good for us to start looking into building more Korean barracks. And so we are going to make sure that we produce a decent amount of leather and also turn the weaponry back on when we are doing this, because these are inputs for the buildings. So this will give us a full or better price collapse. You can see weaponry is not price collapsed here. Incidentally, we are very good at producing weaponry because one of the major inputs for it is coal. Most people do not have an opportunity to produce weaponry quite as good, but this is the best PM for it, and so the 0.3 coal, we can do that pretty well considering, yep, all the coal. So we have started to turn some of the weaponry production back on, as well as a little bit of the carpentry production. We don't want to full open the throttle, because we do want to keep our lumber price collapse, but we are going to need to add a whole bunch more lumber, more than just the RGOs, and so we're going to look to float at least 500-600 gold until we confirm whether or not this is a run where we will be getting the plague or not, but because it doesn't always come to Asia. But with our additional money, we will be looking to start adding in lumber mills in various areas, specifically areas where we think we are going to keep them rural and we think we are going to have a lot of pop. So a perfect example is this 65k pop place, which has gold. We want to keep that rural, and so we are just fine expanding this out. This does interfere with their ability to employ up the gold, and we have this here on auto expand, and so anytime they basically get full employment on the gold, it will employ the gold first, and then it will employ the lumber mill, and once it reaches full employment here, it will auto expand, and so it actually is going to be having a few issues. And so we'll look around for some other stuff. Maybe a place like this silk would be decent. It only has 10k pops. We could look for the silk over here, the silk here. Ooh, 42k. That's not ideal, but if we overexpand also over the building level, the max building level that is possible, then they will lose migration attraction. And so if we push this down enough, we can even get these guys to start leaving here, and so we can still benefit from the pop growth in this location without having to urbanize it. And so I think that might be what we try and do. We also have tribesmen. I was well, how much tribesmen do we have? I don't think that this is too big an issue because I don't think they're not prolific. But what we're going to be doing is we are going to be expanding and auto-expanding out of the lumber mill here. We don't really care about how much money it makes. That's not what's important. What's important is the market access to some extent, because this throttles how much wood we get. But 65%, that's going to be solid enough for us. And so we are going to be looking for some of these places so that we can afford the lumber impact on our economy for building out the weaponry. Also, we turned back on in Kaesong the Carpenters Guild, because they are just making gobs and gobs of cash, enough money to cover the fact that it's making twice as much as the next building, so we can afford to build the lumber inputs and the Carpenters Guild all in one go. And kind of have that be net more profitable than building like the next most profitable thing. And so we will be looking to kind of turn on a couple of these, but not so much. These things have to be really profitable for us to want to build them. Also, the Lacquerware Guild is going to be something that is somewhat similar in this regard, where it will have an input of lumber and also dyes. And that will be really good in this province, in our capital province here, because we do have dyes and lumber there. And so that will be something that we eventually produce, but we're going to need to up the lumber quite a bit. So we've gotten the economy rolling with the lumber collapse, and now that we're throttled by the fact that of promotions in a lot of these spots, us being able to expand these out for cheaper is a little bit less valuable, or we can't do it and have it be useful. So we're going to look to add more lumber. That way we can turn on some of the lumber stuff. Alright, so we took a look at the Buddhist schools, and what they mainly get is just +1 heretic tolerance, which is decent enough, and we could do kami worship as well here, but we are generating enough honor that we can afford to stay with this, and so I think for now what we'll do is we'll do increased literacy. This is going to be really nice for the conversions that we are doing. When our guys convert to Shinto, it resets their literacy. And this is kind of unfortunate, but it is the way it works. So if we take a look at literacy, we can see actually low literacy from all these guys here, and that's because they have reset to Shinto. And so us getting an additional 0.05, especially in the rural areas, will make a big difference, because that will be, be plus 250% on to the baseline in terms of how quickly we're improving this literacy, and so that'll be nice. Also, it will increase up the literacy quite a bit, even in the capital, because that thing also increases the max by 5%, and so we will get to bump the literacy up in the urban areas by 5%, and so that'll kick things up quite a bit. You can see Japan is doing pretty good in the literacy department. I think, yeah, about the same as China, and so we're going to be able to push things up as a result of that, which will help out with the research and also all the literacy bonuses that one receives, such as the dev bonus, the percentage dev bonus that you get off of the, not the peasants, where are the burghers here, the monthly development growth modifier here, which is, I think, 3/4 of the literacy rate. Looks like we have a literacy of 14%, and it's giving 8.6%, or a literacy of rather 34% on average is giving 8.6%. So at max level, I think it gives like 25% or something like this in terms of monthly dev growth, but that's going to be nice for us. So we also see the Black Plague on the horizon here, so it looks like it will be coming to Asia, and so what we'll be doing is we are going to be building disease resistance hospitals, basically in all the highest pop locations first. Going to look to prioritize those. We don't have a full price collapse on them, but it is decent enough. We tried to build a little bit of glass in order to kind of prepare ourselves here, but we are going to do that, and then after these all complete, we are going to look to still float a bunch of money for the purposes of pest houses. So I think that this is going to be what we go for. I think we have enough time to complete these in kind of our highest pop areas, and then the pest houses we should be able to spam just about everywhere. I think we have quite a bit of time here. It usually doesn't spread just instantly, especially kind of over this route. We're going to take the gold here. That's actually maybe going to allow us to build one more hospital. if we take a look at kind of, we have a 45k place here, looking for areas that just have the most. I guess we could throw one down in the capital, that will be fine enough, also has 45k, but this is going to do not as much damage as well. Generally speaking, the plague, there's like different versions of the plague and it tends to do a little bit less. Looks like Kocho, looks like they might resist the plague even. A little bit of some pump faking here. We could also cancel the hospitals if it doesn't look like they're going to spread, but we do want to have them finished by the time the plague gets here. Maybe this is jumping the gun a little bit because it has failed to get across the Gobi Desert so far yet. We'll keep an eye on it. Maybe we cancel some of these hospitals. Alright, sample size is still not small enough for me to be able to tell if this is going to push through Great Qing, but we're going to let our hospitals complete because we don't want them to be too slow, and so this might be a little bit of extra money that we spent that we didn't need to spend in order to save our pops, but it's probably not the biggest deal in the world. Looks like it... Oh, is it reseeding and it just can't penetrate? Damn it. Okay. Alright, so for our parliament, we get expand gravel road. We did the nobles version. This is going to give us enough support for us to change one of these, and we can change the favor off the common people, but I think what we're going to do is we're going to change the mining controlled operations first. We're going to change them to burger controlled, so this 0.06 will go to 0.16, allowing us to push plutocracy even more, and we are kind of have our eyes on revoking the privilege in the very, very near future here, because as we push down this aristocracy power, we're going to get fewer and fewer nobles, and this will proportionally raise the power of the clergy a little bit. So we're maybe at the point where the clergy is about to be weakest, and so that's going to be good for us revoking this. I don't really want to go to minus 30 stab right now, though, and so we're going to wait for the stab to come on up at least a little bit more, but that's probably going to be the entirety of our parliament. We can give out a monastery, this type of thing, but it doesn't look like we will have too much ability to generate up to kind of the next tier of support, and so with that I think we'll just leave this and let the equilibriums of these guys kind of support kind of flow. But we also have expand gravel road, which is nice because we get to click our free money button again. We already clicked our other funny button again. It's all about clicking buttons, and I think this should be a little bit higher. Okay, 2.8k though. Fair enough. We are going to be demanding extra payment here. That will be quite a bit of money. Ashikaga, of course, hates it. Also, just keeping a watch on this. It looks like we're kind of in okay shape, so this means with regards to the roads, which we have been expanding here and there, we can maybe go a little bit more aggressive. Just checking the road collapse price, but it is going to almost certainly be way cheaper than we can get unless there's something's really expensive for some reason. Yeah, so we don't have a full price collapse, but we have the minus 20% from expand gravel roads, so this is going to be the cheapest roads we get for some time. So we might look to spend down and conserve around 800 gold, something like this, for pest houses in case this turns sideways, but it's looking like this is kind of not turning sideways or not really approaching us that quickly with the Black Plague, and so that's what we'll look for. We're going to try and find good roads, though, to build, so we won't build them all in front of you, because what we're going to look to do is try and get our dev increasing basically everywhere that is important that we can, and so we're not going to just come out from Inju and build as many roads as we can coming out, although we might do a few of these. Instead, we are going to be focused on trying to make sure that the road coverage on the map is very strong for the development and overriding vegetation reasons. So about 1,400 here spent on roads just all throughout the entire area, really targeting the best resources and also some key kind of thoroughfares without fully connecting stuff to the capital. You can see if we highlight the capital, we don't have a lot of things that are directly connecting all the way, but instead just creating a lot of segments that I think are going to be high utility segments, and then our estate will kind of fill in the gaps in the most important places, I think, and so I do think that this is kind of reasonable to do this and then kind of put roads on the back burner for quite some time until we maybe roll another one of these that we want to click through on for the road network. You know, maybe it's not my business, but China seems to be implementing some sort of interesting labor policy here. Alright, kind of getting ready for war a little bit. We have turned the weaponsmiths back on now. We are building castles. We're building one here, and we're building one in San Kuju. We're upgrading this stockade, rather, to a castle from here. The two will be able to completely control the entrance to the Korean peninsula, so we will only need just the two castles to prevent anyone from coming in. A little bit of a rebellion there, and a little bit of a rebellion there. And so we are expecting the red turban stuff to be popping in relatively short order. Still keeping an eye on this, still trying to keep a bank. It looks like Mongolia has kind of shrugged it off, but it's coming in through India now, so expecting that we maybe see it kind of work its way up here, but it's taking its time, so maybe it kind of peters out here and we don't end up getting ourselves a little bit of some Black Death. So as these roads are finishing up, this is the new map mode for the roads, and this is the proximity map mode. Not way more proximity, because we were really getting a lot of benefit from the rivers anyways, but we are getting a little bit more in some areas, especially kind of up into the north here, and also in the peripheries up here, and down here we have a little bit more proximity and a little bit more control. And the Black Death is upon us. Now, we unlock all of this. We're not going to click any buttons just yet. These will cost a stab, and we're going to wait to see it actually spread good and proper to some extent before we click up any buttons, because very often it can go away, and then your button clicks and thereby your stab expenditure also go away along with it. We do manage to get one urbanization on a pretty high kind of pop province before this kicks in. I think that we're going to go with this option and not get the pop satisfaction hit. But we do see it here in Juju as it spawned, not in the market capital, and there, that's exactly what we're talking about. It goes away. So we didn't click up any 20 stab or 10 stab option, and so we're not going to suffer the penalty here. It's going to respread here at some point in time and just reappear. In theory, we can spam sponsor mass forgiveness or one of these 10 positive stab things in order to gain some benefits, but okay, here it spreads in a different location, or rather back to the same one, womp womp, and we will again wait and try and see if it spreads properly to multiple locations in kind of some amount of density, and if it doesn't, we won't click any buttons yet. But we are prepared. We have this massive bank, we have the loud car outside, nothing could stop us, like nothing's stopping that guy as you hear him go off into the sunset. One more tick here we'll just kind of take a little bit of a peek at and try and see if we get a spread. We're not really getting much spread. Is this really sunk in though? It's only infected a slight amount of people here, the presence is almost non-existent, so I think we will continue to wait. We do see that it is ravaging its way through Japan, so not expecting us to be able to full dodge it, but don't really want to do some of these other things. We don't want to go mass forgiveness and then have it stick, though, is the problem, because that minus 10% disease resistance, not exactly it. Although, if you are trying to push Spiritualist in the early game, this is quite a strong modifier for the being able to push towards Spiritualist. But we do see, okay, it looks like it's spread to Inju as well, as we kind of refresh some of these. We're going to wait for a little bit more presence to appear than just this 0.01%, because that's really not going to cause us too many problems just by itself. We will just take the legitimacy hit here, but I'm guessing, well, this is not a problematic amount either. We really want to see some actual amount of disease spread before we look to spend anything on this, and we're not quite seeing that yet, so I guess we'll wait. Alright, so with 5% present here, I think we are safe enough to go expel the sick. We will invest the 10 stab, and this will allow us to spend on some disease resistance buildings, specifically the pest house. Now, I think at the opener here, we can play a little bit of a whack-a-mole game and not invest too much and just see where exactly it spreads out, because these things construct almost instantly. And so we will just slap these down in our places where the disease actually is. But I think we'll also take a look at the pop map mode. By the way, we are oscillating by clicking the back button on our mouse and then escape to be able to see both of these. But we'll just kind of drop them where there is a ton of pop on the coast here, because I don't think it's going to spread to the back end very easily. There is some migration going on. They're migrating to where the pest house is, so I think that's how it spread in the first place from Kaesong over here. And so we'll put these down, and with this, You can see how fast they construct. These buildings, very importantly, are just kind of trap for most countries because they require as their inputs incense, and they won't really function properly, or they will only function at half progress, so you don't usually want to use them. But since we actually have incense, we can actually make use of these and get the massive disease reduction off of them. And so I think that we will see a little bit more spread than we have seen so far. It looks like we see some to the north, and there we go. So it's spreading outward from us. We will kind of just continue to slap these down. At a certain point, we will want to full queue these up, but since they construct so quickly, they don't really pressure your like resources that hard, because they will only pressure on the month tick, right? And so this requires, in order to produce this building, a little bit of masonry and glass, but it will only tick it basically once because it doesn't take multiple months to construct such a building. I think that we will just take the prestige, maybe? We have plenty of gold, but let's just do this because we do want to be able to afford pest houses, and we will continue to watch, and this should be able to root out some of the disease in some of the places. We have already like a lot of resistance. Look at that, 81% resistance, only 10% presence. We're really not going to suffer too much at the hands of the disease, but what we don't want is for it to fully go away and then come back and we lose our ability to build pest houses. There we go. This is kind of what we're looking for. So at this point, we can build like 50-ish pest houses. I think we have more than that remaining amount of buildings. So we will do our heuristic again, where we will kind of look where the disease is, and then we will kind of come back and just do this back and forth and find the best places to build these pest houses before we build pest houses literally everywhere, probably on the next go. The Red Turban Rebellion also pops here. We gain 20 Liberty Desire. We will get an event to just break free, but we can start an independence movement as well. I think that the independence movement might give us a CB. Let's start an independence movement. We haven't really interacted with this too much here, but we will get our pest houses on up in a bunch of our locations. We're now building them kind of manually as the need for them comes in the kind of highest pop places. I was expecting to be able to build them literally everywhere, but we are a little bit shy, but we are still kind of building them specifically where we have the disease. You can see there's only a couple locations that have the disease where we don't have pest houses. There is a bit, kind of a pocket of high pop up here, so that we do want to alleviate that. We already kind of covered the pocket of high pops down here, and so expecting to really not lose very many pops here at all. We've also started to piecemeal recruit up a little bit. Looks like we get Great Yuan declaring war on us right now. The Jurchen Rebellion. Or rather, these guys decked on Great Yuan. Yeah, that's not exactly... we won't help them out at all there. So we're having a little bit of a tough time in regards to... Our parliament is really highly pressured right now. We don't have anywhere near... We didn't get to the point where we could get these guys in power. To be fair, we do need to kind of push the last remnants of our plutocracy push to really get it. And what we want is a lot of support in our parliament. But we also want to do naval infrastructure when we can. We currently have 72. I suppose we can afford to, just as a timing window, push this down the road. Our parliament is kind of also important because once we get independent, we want to declare on Great Yuan relatively early. We can't declare an independence movement, or we can't declare on them while we're at war anyways, on the same side as them. So this is going to present some problems for us just in general, because the Red Turban Rebellion is popping off, and we aren't going to have a good opportunity outside of the event that frees all of kind of the north area. And so different directions, kind of a little bit of a weird inflection point. I think what we're going to go for is we're going to go for support a noble cabinet just to make sure that we can flip our plutocracy law that we want to flip. So we will be foregoing our ability to push this, which feels really, really bad. And but I think it's just a timing window thing. I think that we probably we could try and luck sack our way into... We need around 30% support to... Actually, no, we won't be able to do two things. We won't be able to get an additional 87% support on top of this naval infrastructure thing to pass naval infrastructure and flip what we want to flip. So we're going to go for this, and that way we will get the guaranteed law change. And look, we would have gotten maybe one click, maybe two. I don't think we want to abolish the examination system, so I think we made the right choice given what we managed to roll up there. We already have burgher-controlled mining operations, and so distribution of power, we will swap to favor the wealthy here, which will decrease our income a little bit, but increase satisfaction, because these guys will have a much higher floor in terms of what they're going for. We will get eventually also more tax on these guys. You can see that we were getting most of our tax, though, from the common folks, so that's going to be a pretty big dink in our income from that. We also were getting diplomacy payments, yeah, and also the relationship has inverted with us in regards to yuan, where instead of them paying us money, which they were at the opener, now we're paying them money, which is why our income, relatively speaking, has stalled out here. I'm not sure the exact mechanics of the Middle Kingdom IO and how they pay more or less, but I believe my understanding is that yuan is in trouble, so they've killed their slider. So they're not paying for the slider anymore. With them not paying for the slider, we are not getting a refund, and so we're just paying them the normal vassal income. But it's also making everyone really disloyal right now, and so they are going to have troubles very, very soon here with the breakaway, and when we break away, that will be good for us. I don't think we can expel enough guys, or we have enough stab to expel enough guys to get out from underneath having Mongol characters in their entirety, but this is something that's on the table. Also, we haven't pulled the trigger yet on this, but it is more expensive than it was before by a couple percent. I think we're looking to have maybe 30 stab and or the Black Death be over, because the Black Death gives you a lot of negative stab events, and so kind of don't want to go into negative 30 stab while we're having the Black Death. If it was at game start, kind of okay, but at the same time, maybe not. Also, we have now pest houses basically everywhere that has over 10k pops. I think we're okay letting the really low population places kind of suffer the consequences of our actions, and we will be looking around once this is all said and done to build settlements everywhere, but currently haven't really lost that many pops to the Black Death. Global deaths are 85 million. We've lost around 400,000. So out of 2.6 million, haven't really dropped off all that much. So with us on the tail end of the Black Plague, we're actually going to sponsor mass forgiveness here in the hope that this completely disappears, reappears, and we can sponsor mass forgiveness twice for the additional plus 12 stab. We are going to have to pay monthly kind of amount that scales with our tax base, which is, okay, it's a big source of our income now that we're paying out to China. But we also got 2.7k ducats from Japan, so not too big a deal. We're going to sponsor mass forgiveness. That's going to kick us up to 37 territory, which we're kind of okay at this point. Once we have this much stab, we're kind of okay revoking this. So we're going to revoke the privilege here for can't tax these guys, and that's going to, of course, piss them off. But we, now that we don't really care about increasing their clout, what we can do is we can slot in a few things that are going to push Spiritualist. I think we want to push Spiritualist, and there's plenty of goodies that allow us to push Spiritualist a little bit better, and we don't care about increasing their clout again. And so we're going to slot in a couple of those, make them happy. I think we're going to actually slot in 3 things. Just looking for an additional one that is pushing Spiritualist that is not one of those. It looks like, do we really not have another choice? It's just all communalism? Well, we want to get them above 40% and keep them above 40%, so I suppose we can come in here and take a little bit of a look-see and see if there's anything that is kind of worth slotting in on these guys. Not too much that is looking appealing at this juncture. Monetary fiefs just gives them a little bit of power, gives us progress towards centralization. The max tax is not generally too big a deal on the modifier, but this is not really giving us very much satisfaction. Primacy of the nobility I think we want in eventually, so we could just slot this in now. I think that we have enough satisfaction. We're going to get up to 40%, so maybe we leave it as is. We will now be progressing a little bit towards Spiritualist. A big chunk of this is off of us doing that event. So what we might look to do is, at this juncture, kind of swap things up and push spiritualist just a little bit here. We are kind of trying to keep this open for a burgher character if we can, or a crown power character. You can see that we have 2 crown power characters, so we only have 1 additional slot, and so we will do that. Also, the developing of Kaesong is working pretty well here. They're above 30 dev. Dev scales up consumption quite a bit. I think that because they're above 30 dev, we actually might move it over. It's a light switch for consumption, where once you get over 30, you will start eating paper and books, and so we do want our upper class pops to be eating those, and so kind of in the heart of what we have cooking here, we will do that. We might have a little bit of a better province. We're going to almost certainly have a better province than that. That's only 4 locations. Yeah, so we'll look for something a little bit better. Maybe over here? We'll take a little bit of a look-see and see if we can find a province. We're looking for something that has quite a bit of farmland that will eventually be good, that is also close to the capital, and maybe it's even this province here that would be a little bit better. And then, so let's also cross-check the pop. We want it to be in a place that has a decent chunk of pop. Most of the pop, or the big pop kind of scrums, are down here, but these are in provinces that aren't all that big, and so we would prefer to do it elsewhere. Also, I think that we don't have farmlands down here, so I guess it's just up here is the only place where we have multiple farmlands relatively close to the capital that is also going to be a lot of locations and have pretty good RGOs, and so we are going to look to specifically push the dev in these places up to above 30. That way we will light switch on their consumption of books and paper, which scales with literacy. So the Japanese thing giving us more literacy is going to be useful. I think we're going to hold on to our honor though, because we might use the CB to attack China if this is something that makes sense to us. Currently we're fighting Chen, but we're not really fighting Chen. And this is also one of the advantages of playing Korea. Normally the thing that actually is the biggest impediment for abusing China is actually Korea, and because we're playing Korea, we are not acting as an impediment. So if you're playing Kumai, the hardest person to fight is actually Korea when you are trying to do this trick and annex China, and same with like Delhi and also the shogunate. And so the shogunate has a little bit of difficulties, but by virtue of us being Korea, we of course will not be opposed by Korea. So Tibet gets their breakaway event, so they are no longer part of China. We noticed that by taking a look here and seeing that we couldn't sue for peace with this war, we noticed that we were not disloyal. So we went out of our way to sow disloyalty with our overlord to make ourselves disloyal so that we could, 1, separate peace, and 2, just in case this is part of the condition for us having our breakaway event, or the Jurchen breakaway event up here in the north, which is kind of what we're waiting on here. We are starting to expand out military goods as we are looking to get cheaper prices on our units when we build them, and also we are expanding out the barracks, which is why we have more kind of available space for the manpower to grow up in. We will continue to expand out the barracks, and of course these will be fueled by the weaponsmiths. We are keeping this. Normally I think we don't want to urbanize coal. Coal doesn't really have that high a price though, but it is an input. You can get it through other buildings, but really don't like the coal maker building. But this place specifically is farmland flatland, so it's going to make for a good city, and it's already here as a city. We're also putting in auto expands, or we have put in auto expands on quite a few different things here and there that we want to kind of kick on up in order to make our life easier. We are using a mod for this because we've gotten to the point where we have a big enough economy that we are able to float cash when we want to. This type of thing, and by doing this we can make use of our potential promotions and get things going. We are approaching maybe the point where we want to turn the Carpenters Guild back on. We do have the Carpenters Guild in Kaesong. That is a thing because it has access to both lumber and dyes, and so this will be a very efficient Carpenters Guild, and so maybe we want to specifically expand this while keeping the other ones off. That way we get the most bang for our buck in relation to the wood required, but the amount of money we're making off of these is kind of in the neighborhood where it's costing us more in terms of having to add an additional lumber production that is maybe not making a ton of money, because these are like all relatively break even. it's maybe adding more issues than it's helping out with. And so this is the reason why we haven't just set this up on auto expand, but eventually we will look to have this specific province be the one that is producing the furniture. And there, just a couple months later, is the Manchuria breakaway. I think we're going to start building up a spy network on these guys now at this point, just in case we can do something with a spy network. I know we can make an independence CB, but we can't declare it as long as we're in a mutual war, and we're going to be in a mutual war for basically all of eternity until we can, we're not even disloyal anymore. Womp womp. It's because they released all these guys. So I think we're still coming up on it, though. We can't declare on these guys because they are still... The Koreans remained in. I think everyone in Gwanbuk and this sort are, even though we have claims on these guys, are not ones we can declare on, except for this guy, actually. Is he still... Yeah, he's still overlord with Yuan. But we could also start colonizing, which is something we had kind of been holding off on. We're going to put in a colony here, and we're also going to look to stretch down our reach a little bit down here and put in another colony. I think we can afford the maintenance at this point. We're making a ton of money. Have a ton of RGOs expanding here as well. Kind of in a little bit of breakaway mode in regards to eco, which is exactly where we want to be. We want to be able to afford regulars. We want to be able to afford to hire mercs if we need to, because winning these first few wars against Yuan, like, decisively, is pretty important for our strategy. All in all, to the Black Death, we lost a little under 20% of our pops. Pretty good showing in terms of kind of this east, but also you just generally lose less pops in the east. But we had hospitals in our highest kind of pop places, and we're able to make use of the pest houses because we actually have incense. Incense also an input on the hospitals, so our hospitals were more effective as well. We get in a pretty nice spot rolling an event to get this guy with 99 Diplo. That is going to be useful, but he's also a burger character, and this is specifically useful because this allows us to roll the parliament that gives us plus 10 towards plutocracy. Really excited to have this guy in. He's also going to allow us to push to an equilibrium on plutocracy of 30. I think we might still have a couple laws we need to change here. We are doing our last salvo of recruitment, though, here for our army, and also bringing up a little bit of a navy so that we can transport these guys across. Because I think what we're going to do is go for Mao here and just try and separate piece them. We're going to insult, Great Yuan as much as we can. We're going to tell them to, elderberries, hamsters, something like this, smells, and then we will be trying to, it's going to take 2. We're going to have to cut this guy in half, but, actually we can do this a little bit faster. And so we will have these guys embark, and then head on over to try and... I'm not entirely sure. I think we could just do it with this navy. That's the one that actually has the army. Yeah. With our levies here, and then we will go for this. There's not a lot of forts here, and so if we are, in fact, disloyal, which I think we are, we can double check by seeing if we can separate peace. We are not disloyal. See, if we could separate peace these guys, then things would be a little bit different, but we can't separate peace them. It's not the 10 war score, it's the fact that we are a subject. As soon as we become not a subject, or as soon as we become not disloyal, we want to go for that, but we don't want to help out Great Yuan in the wars before then. And so that puts us in a little bit of a kind of a bind. I think we'll just look to make landfall there, because this is an area specifically we want, and then try and play around it from there. We do really want to become disloyal, though, to them, so this is going to be an issue if we do not have a better tool for doing so. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to come and take a look at the guys we could appoint to cabinet, and specifically we're going to look for some Mongols. This guy's Korean, Mongol, and we are going to banish him. I think that executing is maybe going to be better, but okay, we will banish because this is part of the flavor. I think that this is supposed to make Yuan pissed and give us negative relations with them. If it doesn't, that's unfortunate because we have enough war score to enforce on this guy here. And we would like to enforce on this guy here and not have Yuan enforce on him because we're not trying to do Yuan's work for them. So, Bueller, peace deal. We cannot peace because we have good relation. Alright, we get demands of the Mongol aristocrats. Maybe this can help us out here. That's just a little bit of a vibe. And give us -50 relations, which hopefully is enough to make these guys disloyal. No, we're not disloyal yet. Oh. Alright, so taking a look at it, we have 63% loyalty, and I don't think we're going to get disloyal anytime soon. I think that this is probably an optimization that could be made where you look to, and this hadn't even occurred to me, where you look to be on their side in a war and enforce for a whole bunch of stuff. And the key thing here is that the CB is rein in the rebels. And so when you enforce here, everything's basically free on the Antag and the war score. And so had we been a little bit better about it, we could probably be like full annexing Mao right here. And this would accelerate our kind of strategy by maybe 5 to 10 years relative to what we're about to do, and would be a pretty sharp improvement. But the only save I have is basically a decade before this. And I don't want to go through all of that just for the sake of optimization and showing it off. But I think that what has caused us to not be able to be disloyal again is the releasing of the Jurchens. And so specifically jumping on these guys earlier and prepping for that is probably a pretty dramatic improvement based on what we're going to do. But we're just going to come in and we're going to use the Declare Independence interaction in the Red Turbans Rebellion things, which we've used this in the past. I don't think we did it on the last practice run. This does get rid of all of our other wars and declares a new war. It does black flag our guy, but this guy should not be black flagged, and so we will come through here. It will also kick us out of the Middle Kingdom. Actually, I'm not 100% sure if this is an issue. We will not be in the Middle Kingdom. I think we will be able to still fight for... I don't think that this is an issue. So we're going to get our guy to unload. This guy will come back in, and we will be off in a way of fighting against Yuan here, which is going to be good for us. We have, the CB is decent enough, and what we'll look to do is we'll look to grab some territory. It doesn't really matter how much we grab, we just need to grab a little bit of China for this strategy. Just the tiniest bit, because he will declare on us using a Red Turban CB once we release a subject. And so specifically we are going to be looking for, I don't know if it requires a Chinese like warlord to be released, but we're going to be looking for basically anyone from this list in terms of releasables that will have territory, that will have, not from this. Oh, looks like we can't liberate countries. We're going to be looking to take some of these guys and then release new subjects, and then China will declare on the new subjects. So let's get into it. Alright, so here's our quick little war. Just taking a bunch of stuff that doesn't require forts. We're just looking to take one province, and also we want to take land route to this Lijin location, and what we're going to do is we're going to release a subject here. We're going to get 25 antagonism, not too big a deal, and then can we release a historic subject? A historic would be preferred. We cannot release a historic subject here, so custom subject coming in here. We're going to do a fiefdom here, and then what we are also going to do is we are going to create a market. We also got a ton of gold off these guys. Ooh, womp womp. We can't create a market here, but we can in Wudi, and we can look to move it later. And the main idea here is we do not want our subjects being a little bit weird in terms of what markets they get attracted to. So we don't want these guys to try and join the Kaesong market, make their own market, this type of stuff. And so we're going to put them in here, and then we're going to bring this guy back. Now, we aren't going to disband the levies. The reason being, China is going to be very trigger happy with declaring on her subject, breaking a truce. Or actually, I don't even think they have a truce with this subject. So they're going to say, hey, look, there's a guy in the middle of China. We want to unify China, so we're going to deck on these guys as they do. And we should expect to see a CB here declared on us very, very soon in here. Hopefully China doesn't get completely overrun. It looks like they kind of are. So the strategy of us being able to peel stuff off of them would have probably been a little bit better, but I still think that this is going to work out for us. We're also bringing in reinforcements from the backlines here, but we can reinforce here, which is kind of a key point. We will also have food supplies here, so this is going to be good for us. And there we go, right on schedule. We do get decked on, but this time not by China, not by Yuan, but by Ming. So now we can go fight Ming, and Ming's CB, this is going to be very important, is going to be this regional supremacy 98% discount war. With this, we will be able to full annex these boyos but Ming is not exactly the person we wanted to fight. We wanted to fight more of Yuan rather than Ming, and so this is why us having kind of a big stack of army, this type of thing, is important. I do think that this is probably mostly, yeah, they have, looks like 4-ish units worth of infantry that are regulars, 1.5 cavalry, a little bit of auxiliary, but it's almost entirely going to be levies. We have not raised up all of our levies. We will raise the remainder of our levies and get ready for this fight against them. Of course, we would need to be able to travel through them. I don't think we have access. I don't think they have access to us, so maybe not that big a deal, but whoop whoop. We will be able to fight Wu. It looks like we might have a little bit of a show on our hands. And so this is kind of the idea, though, is that we will be able to have a bunch of wars simultaneously. I think that we'll raise the levies on the ships as well. We will activate these guys who have been trying to repair for some time now. We'll just attach the damaged ships because we do want to make sure that we do have some amount of galley support as we try and reinforce with all these remaining troops that we possibly can. Here, let's try and get these guys over here and get something. Can you not walk this way? Why can't you walk this way? What? Okay, well, we'll sort all of that out, but these guys should also be able to reinforce manually. We can also raise those units here, and that's also really why it was very important that we did that before we unpaused. Once Yuan declares on us, we will have a route into Ming. Oh, I thought Wu declared on us. Looks like it was Chen, but either way, we have some wars. Alright, so with our parliament, taking a look at our estates here, we have over 20%, so we will be able to swap over to a state parliament. The hidden button allowing us to have our commoners in. I think that we also have the privilege we can hand out, represented in parliament. We will hand that out before we host the parliament, and then we will have a little bit of a go here. And I think that we still want as much support as possible, so we will use increased ties to neighbors here. I don't think we want the castle works, and so we'll go with this. We don't quite have enough support in the immediate sense, but look, already we can, well, I think we're going to go autonomy support, actually. We don't want to push capital economy just quite yet. We could peek behind this, and that's maybe valuable in its own right, to be able to maybe push naval, this type of thing. But we don't really need to push some of these just quite yet. Bellicose support actually will be decent for us right now, though, because additional war score might be something that's relevant, and we will go for a law change, and in particular going after Central Council. It has progress towards aristocracy. By getting off of it, we will get more progress towards plutocracy, and so you can see that now we are going 0.4 towards plutocracy, so we will be headed towards 40% plutocracy, which will be nice. Kind of waiting on other people to deck on us. This is kind of our anticipation here. We have this stack. The stack is nice and comfortable. We can detach the levies and reorganize it, but these guys will be ready to go and will be stronger than anyone else in the region, which is why we kind of wanted the levies to stay raised, is because if you want decks on us, this will be useful for us. But we can also maybe look to add a castle here. We are hemorrhaging money as one of the downsides right now, but that's partially because we are just increasing up, what is it? We're increasing up our legitimacy, and we're also still paying max for our stab slider, which we do not necessarily need to, but we might have a little bit of a tumultuous time going ahead, but it's the cost of court being nice and expensive, and yeah, ooh, let's actually not tax the clergy right now, considering they're so mad at us, and so, yeah. Not exactly the best showing, but also with our parliament, we know that with the timing that we have, we will be able to request like 3k ducats for freezies, good dealsies. I think that we need to wait a couple months, and then we will be able to increase the tax. The UI does not cooperating, but October, so we will wait for October, and then we will go for the extra payment, getting another 2,000 some ducat. Get a little bit of flavor right as we're looking at maybe making a CB, where we will have the choice of unlocking this policy, which is entirely negative, and implementing it, or just getting a bunch of belligerent and getting a CB on China. Now, we still have a truce with China that's going to be, you know, kind of in place for the next 6 years, and they're not decking on us, which has not been our experience so far. Our experience previously has been that they're really aggressive about decking into us, and since that's not the way things are going, I think that we might look to try and generate a CB on these guys or something like this. We could cleanse heresy, but then we can't really take territory that easily. But we can maybe get a landing kind of just 3 provinces so that we can get in on Ming and start fighting Ming, something like this. And so I think we're going to start going for this. But this is quite a bit messier than our trial run with Kumai, and also, as we suggested, what we might be able to do with kind of if we were able to enforce on people beforehand, like if we were able to enforce on Mao, this type of thing. And maybe we even use a Parliament CB on the likes of Wu or also Mao, because I think we have a truce with Mao. And so the truce is almost up, and maybe they declare on us, in which case we can grab a whole nother big chunk over here. Alright, so we're not getting decked on by Yuan like expected, but Wu decks on us, finally using this CB that is, again, going to give us this massive discount when we enforce on them. But our ships are kind of in disarray, and we don't really have enough sailors to kind of make this work. And so what we're going to do is we're going to add a whole bunch of fishing villages. We have been trying to the extent that we're urbanize on the coast, and we will continue to do that. But this way we can add wharfs, but the fishing villages will also give 1 sailor. Really wish we had docks. We don't have docks. We can afford a bigger navy, but it is what it is. We have, like, kind of a big enough navy to fight them, even with just the 8 galleys. Unfortunately, they actually have some galleys, and we don't know if they're in a state of disrepair. If they're not in a state of disrepair, we cannot fight them. So, just gonna kind of sit tight. Maybe we wait 2 years. Maybe the AI is a little bit different now, where they actually kind of care about truces, and when the truce is up, they deck on us. We'll see how this shakes out, or maybe they're just war exhaustion, war enthusiasm is so low that they're just not into it. We have a CB on them, and so we might deck on them if they don't deck on us. But the problem is we want them to deck on us with this absurd war goal. And so we probably don't want to deck on them and just let them come to us with this type of thing. In particular, Wu is going to be really where most of the value is. So if we full annex them, we will be in excellent shape. Alright, so we take maybe a little bit of a risky landing after we had kind of reinforced up slightly on our ships, but now they are all kind of reinforcing up pretty well. Well, not really, actually. I don't think we need the... we're not going to save the escape squad, though. We need quite a bit of sailors, actually, to fully reinforce, which is a little bit yikes. We get decked on by Ming, which is not too big a deal. We do have this stack. The stack maybe is going to need a little bit of assistance, but because it takes such little war score here, this makes it ridiculously easy for us to enforce on these guys. The fact that we're at war with Ming is a little bit unfortunate, though, because that means we will not be able to release subjects after annexing Wu here. We will just kind of... We're waiting on the month tick for them to kind of move on over to +1. +1 heretical belief tolerance is actually incredibly nice. We will also take a little bit of ducats off of them, but oh no, 3 antagonism and 7 war score. This is because you're getting the 98% reduction when they declare war on you using this CB, and they're doing it because they declare on people in China. Qingxi is in China. They're our subject. They declared on them. Now we annex Wu. That's China, or sorry, that's Korea now. Welcome to Korea, boys. And so now we just need to fight Ming using much the same strategy. I think we can raise levies up from here. Yeah, we can. And they might actually even be a decent amount of levies, because it has not registered, I don't think yet, that there actually should be basically 0 control there, but there's not. I'm not sure if they have some of their levies up, but oh, it looks like we're getting thousands of levies. Let's go. We also will be able to reinforce our regulars too, and so maybe we actually just keep these guys in here. We get the levies, we kind of bring them all together, and... easy peasy. We use the Chinese to defeat the Chinese. We'll merge these all to the strongest, and then we will have a nice little go at Ming. I think the reason Yuan hasn't declared on us is because they don't have enough stab. We've noticed this thing where they will just declare on you belligerently on cooldown, this type of thing. But if they don't have enough stab, they can't declare. So I'm guessing that's what's the holdup with them. But if we take all of Ming and take all of Chen and take all of Fang, this type of thing, then this works out for us too. I think it's maybe worth emphasizing that Shinto itself is giving us tolerance of heretical beliefs. So as far as a religion that is going to be reasonably good on the heresy front, it is pretty good. We still have no satisfaction in all these places because of the conquered tag. So we do want to release them. This minus 50 is not going to be something that we can tolerate for too long. But we are going to also have to stand on a bunch of territory in this kind of situation. And look, 3/4 of our top pops are Sanjiao because 3/4 of our pops are right here. So we are going to be doing some research though, and we wanted to preempt that because there's a little bit of more tech that we can get. We get heretical tolerance from Asia tech or from Shinto. Now we also get it from the fact that our capital is in Asia, and so this is going to be pretty nice off to the side here. The trade capacity and prod efficiency are also pretty nice modifiers. There's a lot of really good tech just for having your capital in Asia. I think we could go for clergy estate satisfaction equilibrium here, and that would be pretty solid. The proximity cost, I think, is going to be solid, but it's behind quite a few. I think that off to the left here, we have some of our better ones. And then also expanding raw material time. We spend a ton of time expanding raw materials, so that'd be decent. I think we're going to go for this, though. Long term, it's going to take us forever to cap literacy, and getting a little bit of extra monthly literacy is going to go a long way. Since we're going to be in the neighborhood, we're going to go and grab that as well. And I think then we'll make a decision when it comes down to it. It's probably going to be the prox cost, though, because that is pretty strong. Yeah, let's just put that in there. There's a couple of not very good modifiers leading up to it. We don't have any subjects now, so that's not going to be that useful. We don't need institution spread just yet, but that is going to be kind of on our radar in the near-ish future. Institutions, they haven't reached India yet, so there's not a whole lot we can do, but once they do, then we'll be wanting to pull them here. We have a ton of tech to research in the free tree, though, and so that's pretty nice with all the Asia stuff. You can see there's another Asia tech. Just a ton of these extra techs are from Asia, giving us stuff to do. Hopefully they get there before 1400. So now we have a proper fight, because as we are fighting Ming, they enforce on Yuan. And, okay, Ming isn't going to have any conscripts out of any of this, unless they conscript up. Actually, no, they're just not going to have any conscripts, basically. And so this isn't really a fight, but this is kind of the type of outcome we're looking for, because this is a really cheap war cost of peace. They're going to be radically willing to go for this, and so we are going to try and take as much of China as possible in this war. So we've gone from taking one little snippet, getting declared on by Wu, taking Wu, the Ming Yuan thing kicking out so that Ming gets a huge chunk of Yuan, and then from here we're going to be looking to do this. And if you look at the war score cost, it's not going up, partially because it's low control, right? But mainly because of minus 98%, but you also get a minus accounting for low control. None of this stuff has any control here whatsoever. I'm not even sure if it's ticking up in control. The max control is 0. And so we are just going to be able to take everything. And this is the main point. Yep, just 25 antagonism here. Nothing to see here, anyone? Nothing to see here whatsoever. We do have to leave this one little snippet unless we wanted to run and go siege it, which we would have to get through a bunch of forts to do that. We could go after the snippet, but we would have to march all the way up there. And that's just kind of one war. No, we can't even take that. I do believe we can only take stuff inside of China with this CB. So we can't take any Mongolian stuff. And going after Mongolia is going to be part of something we have to do, because we have to full annex Great Yuan to form China ourselves, and that's eventually going to be something we want to do, but for now we will content ourselves with taking basically half the population of China, something like this. That's not our actual population, is it? Surely we have more than 9 million pops. What is this sophistry? Okay, so I think that even still we don't want to necessarily bring down our levies, because our levies, they're going to keep declaring on us, so we don't have to declare on them. And our levies we're not going to get levies from this area anymore because our control is completely depleted. If anything, we maybe even want to raise up levies, so we're not going to put down the levies, but what we are going to do is we're going to create a whole bunch of subjects before we get declared on, because we don't actually want to control all of this territory ourselves. I am not 100% sure that if making subjects kind of breaks your ability to form China and you have to control all of it yourself, so we're going to create a save here just in case. But I don't think it does. I think you're allowed to have subjects and form China just as long as Great Yuan gets annexed and everyone in China is your subject. And so because of that, we will be releasing a whole bunch of people, preferring historic subjects because they get a bunch of cores. I don't know if we're going to release Wu, though. We probably, in our enforcement on... The thing is we want to make sure that we keep market capitals, and so Huangzhou, we're going to want to hold on to. Shang Yuan, we're going to want to hold on to. We have Wu Di, but over here we're going to want to hang on to this just because weird attraction stuff happens, and in fact we might even take and hold on to a bunch of territory here because we don't want to take massive stab hits later on to rearrange or delete markets and this type of thing. But this is going to be pretty tedious. So while we do this, we're going to use our cooldown to improve cultural opinion. We're going to improve cultural opinion of Wu and Korean, because I think we might be flipping Wu. I don't know if there's a best culture to flip, but we will be improving relations with them. Ideally, whatever is the best one to flip to, if we're flipping off of Korean, would be that. We're also keeping in mind that we can only raise a few more subjects here, and kind of prioritizing the coastline of stuff we want to core and maybe integrate before we form China. Stuff that we can, from Inju, actually project some power towards. So basically just all the coastal stuff as kind of far as we can reach, keeping a hold of Hangzhou, and then the rest of the stuff we will just hold on to, and because satisfaction, we might run into problems with rebels, but the hope is that our subjects, as we have founded them, will be somewhat useful in that regard. We could flip culture, because currently our culture group is, I think, a little bit different than the Chinese. We specifically, this is maybe a reason to release the Liang and the tribes out here, because I think that they are an entirely different culture group, and so they are more likely to be disloyal. And also marching all the way up here is not a very entertaining prospect, so I think we release a couple more subjects out here and look to do things along the lines of culture, so get the rest of the Liang and Hui pops out from lands we directly control. That way we maybe don't have too many issues. And also very tempting to delete every single fort. Part of me doesn't want to delete the ancient Great Wall of China's, though, because I feel bad deleting the Great Wall of China. But if we have revolts, and maybe we just keep an eye on revolts and rebels and this type of thing, if we're going to have rebels, and this is growing quite quickly, if we're going to have rebels, we don't want them gaining a bunch of forts, so that's probably going to be what we want to end up doing. And basically, just after unpausing, we get ourselves a war with Chen, which is why we didn't want to... Ooh, we shouldn't have made all these subjects. I didn't realize that's how that worked. So we lost all of the levies we had raised from there. That's a little bit of a yikes, but the flip side is these places still have high control from the leftover Ming, so we should be able to get a decent amount from them as well. And we can also raise out from over here. I think we might as well, because we don't want to get caught. But I guess that means that the territory that was Wu's, we didn't really want to handle that the way that we did. We should have left all of this in our hands because this is where all of our levies had come from. But okay, we will get a couple wars. We will get a war with Fang, Mao, just about everyone. The whole party. It's all invited. They're all invited because they declare on cooldown, which they declare on cooldown. They declare on cooldown with this CB over and over and over again, forever and ever. So we could get out on a long, drawn-out affair with Fang, and they are bearing down on our unit now. We almost certainly win this fight because that's all levies versus our regulars. Notably, remember what we said about having an overabundance of troops kind of going into this? It's basically because war after war after war, we're not going to have a chance to reinforce and do this type of stuff, so we do definitely want to have additional guys over this kind of amount. But I think we're fine just subjugating Fang and taking a couple of provinces off of them. They will be a while to annex since they will have tons of provinces, and so this is maybe going to be a little bit annoying, especially because we probably move our capital to Hangzhou, but I think that this is also kind of okay to just make this war end really, really quickly, and then they will be in with us, and womp womp, they're with us. They're friends now. No need to fight here. And we have occupied the capital of Chen. So with Chen, we can look to take everything. And look, they're already like, you know what, dog? Don't really want to go about this. We do have to get 10 war score, I think, to make any sort of demand. Yeah, we have to get 10 war score, but they're already not feeling it. And it's only like 5 like war score or antagonism or what have you. It's only, 5 like war score costs to take like everything, and so we haven't even occupied the capital, but we're bearing down on it. But we're about to take all of Chen as well. Great Yuan is fully occupied, but they're occupied by someone else that we're probably going to end up Dong Yuan. So if Dong Yuan declares on us, then we can go fight them as well. They've been liberated up here, and our subjects that we had released make this a lot easier on us because they will go about taking all this stuff. Now from Great Yuan, we can't take anything unless it is in China, as far as I know, even if we occupy it. And so what we will be looking to do is peel all of their subjects off of them and annex like every single one of their subjects, or annex/feed their subjects. It's going to be very, very tedious, but we can do everything that is inside China. So all the subjects in South China and West China, we will be going after. We will be taking Chen. This is both a kidnapping and a robbery. Liam Neeson will not be coming to help them. They are ours now. And also, very conveniently, Dong Guan has declared on us, and so that is going to be good for us as well. With our kind of improved levy system of, we can actually raise a decent amount of levies from these guys before their control kicks down. We will be raising all the levies here, and we just need like enough levies to kind of penetrate the outer defenses and make sure that we take the capital. That way we can get a full annex, but we will be doing the same thing to Dong Guan here most likely, and also the levies are going to be really nice because we have to wade through all of this, and that's going to be, actually, wait, not that many forts, but it will be a lot of sieges. Unfortunately, this guy did decide to put, oh, nope, he didn't put a fort on his capital, just right next to it, so that will be easy pickings. We will just need to dive in. I think that what we'll do is we will just start sending these guys down south, and having them work their way down. Actually, this guy, we will work our way east. He doesn't have a commander. He probably should have one. Not expecting to see a commander that is capable of, taking our 15k stack with 1k regulars from Dong Guan, having just acquired all this territory. If we look at him, he only has control over here. He's only established this. He's been fighting Yuan for some time, so that's probably not going to work out for him. It's looking like we have occupation going on Yuan, but in order to take their subjects, we have to actually occupy their subjects instead of just taking the capital and then taking the rest of the bag. So this will be kind of the longest fight with Yuan to take all of this stuff over here. I'm not sure if we get CBs, but we're gonna have to, this is gonna be cleanup mode over here into the western portion of China. There are also notably a ton of these buildings, the Zijian, which is a tremendous building, but not very useful to us at this juncture. We're just going to close all of them because the maintenance is quite expensive. It is one of our main sources of needing to pay. We also have provincial garrisons that I think we're going to look to close as well. These are just giving manpower, but we have no control in these locations, so we will also come in here and go provincial barracks and close these as well. And so this will help out in addition to us deleting down some of these forts. I do think we have more fortifications available than just the forts. I think we have, okay, the provincial garrisons is a big chunk. Oh, those are military buildings. The Ancient Great Wall of China. We could delete all these. I kind of don't want to, though. I think it is a decent chunk of fort maintenance. I think we'll just keep them around for now. That at least will be somewhat of an impediment. Ooh, looks like, are we rumbling with, oh, we deleted our forts next to Kok Tamur, not realizing that the war would be afoot. So if Kok Tamur is part of this fight, that's actually pretty good for us overall, but we're going to need to make adjustments in that we probably need to send a unit up. So why don't we start sending another guy up, because Kok Tamur will otherwise be able to slap around our vassals, and we don't want that. And then what we're going to do is we are going to split. Kok Tamur declared us a rival. We are going to split half these levies between this unit and this unit here, and then with the idea that once we overcome kind of the resistance here and the resistance down south, we will split again to do the cleanup, where these guys will clean up Kok Tamur, who has a couple of forts, and then these guys will clean up this and then move on over into the west. And Dongguan bites the dust here, and we get that big southern chunk of China. So for this parliament here, we're going to switch to same religion. Any religion is kind of nice because it's giving us tolerance of heathen beliefs, except that doesn't say heretic beliefs, so it's actually not as nice. Same religious group would actually be useful, but I think what we're going to do is try and push spiritualist right now, and swap on over with that with our parliament. We are hoping for a little bit of a gain here in some of these before we click any more buttons. We could do demand for a new monastery plus address local shrine complaints, leaning towards that as the means to kind of do this, but we might have to give tax exemption to the burghers. Not the biggest deal, because they're not exactly raking us in the biggest portion of money anyways, and also we just have this mega huge bank. A lot of things are just kind of trivially unimportant at this juncture. In terms of how we are managing this war, we do already have this split up here, where these guys have split into two armies. They're chasing each other around. I think that we maybe, yeah, let's just start sieging some of this stuff and trying to track them down. We also have this kind of levy army coming in. Ooh, did we get lucky? No, that wasn't a luck one. We are going to come for the two forts here that we need to go with our primary army, and then with the other army, I think we are just going to do a little bit of a, what is it? We're going to group these guys up so that they're somewhat fightable. They can fight like any one of these guys who's only got like 5 levies or something like this. And then we are going to carpet siege, but we are going to specifically deselect all locations that have forts, because we don't want them to try and carpet siege down the fort. So because we know there's like a fort here, we're going to deselect that. Because we know there's a fort here, we're going to deselect that. And there's a fort here, deselect that. But outside of that, these guys will attempt to carpet siege the entire area. Let's double check regards to where forts are. So we do see that there are some forts up here. So going to kind of deselect all of these, because otherwise they beeline the forts. That's not what we want them to carpet siege down. We want them to specifically carpet siege all the non-fort stuff. But that automation should help us out a little bit. And then these guys will head to the northern fort. I think there's one northern fort. We kind of mind losing support a little bit because we are going to need to pass something through. Not 100% sure we'll need that, but just in case. And then there was one fort up here, I think 2 forts, that are going to be subject territory. So we're going to come on up. We shouldn't run into food problems. I guess we'll come here, grab the food. Ooh, we might run into food problems trying to take this. I think we could do this, take this province and then siege this one, and then in doing so avoid the food issue. And then these guys are splitting up and going to go kind of run over all of these, and we didn't want to do it with too smaller levies because we see a lot of like under sub 100 stacks running around, but hopefully, yeah, this is kind of exactly what we want. These guys just kind of push through because we do need to take all of this stuff. Also, in terms of how much we're pushing towards spiritualist, we are getting a 0.41 push, so we will be pushing pretty nicely, and then we can do another parliament to be able to push even more. This is 16 for us. 16 is not going to bring us up towards what we want. We could support traditional economy as well, because we are wanting to push towards it anyways, but we'll do this towards the end of the parliament, so if we could avoid tax exemption, we will. And after taking their capital, we can just separate peace Kok Tamur, which is going to be much less of a headache for us if we do that, so we will. It looks like we are sieging up. We will make sure to add to the siege ourselves to make sure that it gets sieged down, but, you know, the guys we are at war with are diminishing further and further as we occupy the rest of China, and here's our diplomacy map mode. Almost all of China under our thumb. A little bit surprising that Li has not declared on us in any sort of way. I don't think we have a way of generating a CB on him, so that will be a little bit of a vibe. I think that I don't think we can do anything with a build spy network. I think we had a claim for them for Mandate of Heaven, but we don't want to use, we don't actually want to claim the mandate. We want to form China and then not claim the mandate, because this will stick you with some kind of like nastiness in terms of the sequencing, because it'll be really expensive and it'll be hard to generate mandate, whereas founding the mandate after annexing China is better. They don't have a lot of stuff up here. There's not a lot of development, pops, this type of thing, so it's probably only 1 to 2 wars to annex them if they're up here. Other than, no, we can't take that stuff. I'm pretty sure we can't take it even if we occupy it, because it only allows stuff to be taken inside of China. So that is, I guess, the downside, but we are almost done kind of sieging down the unfortified areas and looking to go after the fortified areas. We might have to split up the armies a little bit more. Looks like we pick up one of the fortified areas, so we're going to look, and I think we're going to go for a split here. So we'll send half these guys to take this before taking this. This is to secure our food in the area, and then we'll send these guys down to take this before taking the fort in the area. Make sure to assign another general, but this is kind of tedious micro, but as you know, as annexing all of China should be. Alright, so we will be taking just about as much as we can off of Yuan, eliminating a whole bunch of their little itty-bitty subjects. The stuff we can't take is stuff that Fang has occupied in a separate war than ours, so we can't peel them off, and we can't, I don't think, transfer them over. Wait, what? What is this? Excuse me? Okay, well, I guess we'll be transferring everything in that case. So we will shift, right-click, and then transfer over to this other gentleman who will be willing to transfer to us every single thing that has been occupied that is takeable. We cannot take the stuff in the north, but everything else that is takeable, we will be going for it. That way we can full annex it, or annex everything in China. And war, once again, is upon us. This time Ming decks on us. They are one of the few powers left in China, and by left in China I mean they're left in Mongolia. So we do have a unit in the area to go after Li, but we wouldn't mind Li as a subject here. And the idea is that Li, oh, do they not even have, they don't even have protection on their capital. So actually what we're going to do here is we're going to split this guy. We're going to send 10k there, and we're going to send 10k up to deal with Ming. Again, we're not downsizing any of our levies at any point in time, because we won't be able to re-raise these very same levies, and so it's going to be nice for us to be able to have this. Loyal subjects is actually going to be nice because they're going to pay us more money, so that will be, because they are kind of on the verge of disloyalty. We fed them a little bit more stuff, but currently we are somewhat strapped by this lack of diplo cap. Probably should rearrange the tech research a little bit so that we can pick up diplo capacity plus 20% here, but we'll just keep the same order that we have in. Something that we will, once this war ends, immediately have to turn around to deal with will be this revolution, which I think we have enough levies to handle it, and then put down kind of 2 to 3 revs in a row. We do not need to build a spy network on these guys anymore, because that's what we were doing before. We're going to build a spy network on Great Yuan, really hoping that, however these wars that Great Yuan has turn out really bad for them, and they just get annexed as much as possible, preferably fed to Ming, because Ming has decked on us. Actually, you know what? We won't be able to annex Ming. We won't be able to annex Ming here. but we will be able to subjugate Ming. Li is a subject of Ming, so us subjugating Ming by itself will be enough to downstream effectively subjugate Li as well. So this will be nice for us, except for we kind of don't like that Li has this. So maybe this being Shangdu and Jingzhou, and so maybe we look to just peel those specific locations off of them in the peace deal and subjugate. So something like this. And this will be what we want. And then we will subjugate Ming. And that should be Ming out of the picture as well. Which actually takes everyone out of the picture. Guo is our subject. Feng is our subject. It's kind of cute that they've joined Ming's faction. But us taking them out... Oh, I guess the Jia is a little bit of one last person remaining kind of in the mix. I don't think... Is Yuan? Yeah, Yuan's still counting, but they're like counting their days until the end. Because, you know, yeah. We max out all the taxes everywhere to get a 5k little big here. And then we will kind of go back to taxing people a little bit less. I think that we want, yeah, these guys to not be fully taxed. And these guys will be fine with the 50% to actually we get like almost nothing off the clergy right now. The thing is like we're still looking at the institutions. Institutions haven't hit India yet. A little bit of a cause for concern. I believe that this spreading is just meritocracy spreading, so that is not ideal. We have been colonizing this with the kind of idea that this will be a little bit closer, except for we conquered this. And so, in terms of trading, we are as close as we are probably going to get without doing some funky stuff, which we might go after these guys or try and do something like that, but then we can't explore, so we're kind of at the mercy of the ability to pull these institutions. And we're also kind of coming up on the 50-year mark. We only have another 12 years to try and annex the rest of China, and okay, we have most of China, at least all of the stuff that Yuan starts with. We don't have as much stuff on the peripheries. Some of it is in subjects. These guys are all free, but we are making, or we are waiting on a CB with China. In particular, we do have a subject CB, which I'm not sure what they have claims on here. That seems a little bit strange to me that they would have any, but we can't deck it with our levies raised and until we deal with these rebels. So the rebels will be what we deal with as soon as we finish this war. They will immediately pop, in this being kind of a separatist war that we have with our Mongol subject up here in the north. Alright, so there were two ongoing wars still with Yuan with our subjects. Both Mao and Fang do make... for whatever reason, they are able to take all this territory outside of China off of Yuan. So Yuan is reduced to kind of just this, I think. If we take a look at cores for Yuan, it looks like they just have these two locations, or these two provinces down here. I don't think that they are involved in this. Jia declared on us too, but the biggest challenge here is actually going to be this war here. We have 12k in case we need to merc up, that we've kind of been holding on to rather than spending. One, because it takes a while to spend it. Two, because we want to be able to merc up, and we were also hemorrhaging money while we had all of this extra territory, but now that we don't have it, we're not hemorrhaging money. And also, as soon as this is over, we're going to have the Sanjiao zealots go for independence against us too. We might release more subjects before that can happen, but what we have to do is we have this stack of our oh no, they intercept. I'm gonna say the stack of our regulars should be able to actually fight the mercs that they had gotten, but that is going to be something that in general is a scary proposition for us, is the fact that these guys can merc up pretty fiercely, and when they revolt, when the revolts pull all the locations out from under us, we lose all of these conscripts that we had conscripted up in the meantime. So this 14k stack represents the remaining conscripts we have, or like what was left of that 40 stack. This is what what we have. But we have 9k kind of coming through the top, and these guys are just carpet sieging their way down into the south. And so this stack will be primarily used to push towards the capital of the revolution, so that we can interfere with the level of control that they have, although they've probably already conscripted up, but we just want to be able to find their army and tag it, while these guys take all the provinces up through the north. And so hopefully we won't need to siege down too much, but we'll just roll through the south here. And this Gia thing is just completely, ooh, just kidding. Da Viet getting involved actually makes things interesting. I'm pretty sure we're still just crushing, even if we completely ignore it, because our subjects should be able to handle it for us. Alright, so Gia very kindly gifts us all of the Chinese provinces that had been taken by Da Viet. We say thank you. Thank you so very much. And you know what would also be great with this? War reparations. And you know what? We just barely touched you, but this is truly a humiliating affair. So we'll go with that as well. And that will be a nice little peace deal for ourselves. Give us a bigger chunk of land so that the revolt, I think, is more likely to end, which is actually maybe a little bit of a mistake. Well, actually not a mistake. You want decked on our subject. They're like, hey, look at this weak subject of Ming. We're gonna deck on them because we're trying to resolve the Red Turban Rebellion. That of course was a mistake, because, well, now we're at war with Yuan, and with this war at Yuan and them only owning one location, this will be an annexation for Yuan. Now my understanding is once they're removed from the map, we are able to become China if there are no more eligible warlords to become China, and eligible warlords, there don't appear to be any here. And here is the enforcement on China. We take that. Let's take the bag being 50 ducats, not the fact that we have taken all of China from them, and we will say, hey, and they will say bye. They have been eliminated from the game. No more mandate, no more nothing, and in a twist that turns the Middle Kingdom, the very mandate of the heaven, has fallen into influences which are beyond our explanation. The Red Turban Rebellion serve no longer purpose, as the fate of the Yuan has been altered by the powers beyond the reach of the Red Turbans. Nobody saw this coming. The Middle Kingdom is reborn under us. We become Goryeo, and I do believe we will get some cores at some point in time. We might have to resolve this war first. We are carpet sieging these guys down. I have not done this before, so remains to be seen exactly how this mechanic works, but my understanding is once they're eliminated, we do in fact get cores all of China, so we probably move the capital to Hangzhou or something like that and start working towards annexing these boyos down here once peace happens. Alright, so it looks like we didn't execute this just quite properly because Fang is in charge here, which we don't want Fang to be in charge here. Fang has become the new China, and they are our subject, but man oh man, would they take forever to annex because of all the land they have. And so I think what we're going to do is we are going to roll back. We saved right before we annexed Yuan, and with the understanding that this might be a little bit funny, and we had set ourselves up to have a core in China. We are going to move our capital to Hangzhou, and then we are going to flip our culture Chinese away from Korean, and then see if when we annex China, we become the owner. But we will still have started the game as Korea, so we will still have access to Korea content. And so this is kind of the idea here, is that we get to do the China thing. That revolt pops immediately. We get to do the China thing, right? But we get to get the Korean content on top of it, whereas if we started as Yuan, we would be slightly accelerated, but we wouldn't get any of the Korean content, because we would be able to release play as Song and cheese that, which is one of the stronger starts that we have in mind, but we'll reload back and see if this fixes it or gets the result kind of we're looking for. Alright, so this is with just moving the capital. We are going to test this and see if that is good enough. We will annex these guys and see if just having our capital in China is enough for us to be the successor state of China. So we will do this. There's, of course, just this left, and nobody has seen this coming. Red Turban rebellions rise, and the Middle Kingdom shall be reborn. Where is the Middle Kingdom reborn? Who knows? Except I think it appears that it is not us again. And we get our civil war again, and I'm anticipating that, yeah, Fang appears to have gotten it again. Alright, we will see if this matters if we flip culture. Alright, so we flipped our primary culture to Gan here, which is not the most populous Chinese culture, but I think it's the most populous other than Wu, which we have a bunch of subjects, so we don't have enough of them. And now we will try yet again to see if this will work, if this will pop off correctly. We unfortunately will still have to fight that massive revolt, but we'll see how that shakes out. End of the mandate, the situation ends, and the Middle Kingdom will be reborn. Let's see if this is... We will gain the rise of a new dynasty. So, proclamation of ascension here, and with that, we get cores on everything. We get a rise of a new dynasty, estate satisfaction, equilibrium, speed of integration, monthly legitimacy. This is going to be quite nice for us. Monthly legitimacy will be coming up. I think that will make it so that these revolts don't fire. They are of less important cultures. Womp womp. We get a civil war. It should be at least smaller civil war, because that gets rid of a lot of separatism. Alright, we have a lot of exclusive trade rights to deal with, and yeah, this is a much more manageable revolt, although I guess the last one was also quite manageable as well. We will set these guys to, yet again, actually, let's take a look here. Where's even the capital of these guys? I don't even know where the capital of the revolt is. That is interesting. But we will put down this revolt, and then we will have all of China. We have effectively flipped to the China tag in terms of our content, as far as I understand. We will have country bonuses of, hey, that's not Korea anymore, but we will retain all of the Korea stuff as well. Successors of Genghis Khan. I guess, I mean, chronologically, but we will have all the stuff that China normally has, but we will also, since we had played as Korea, have access to their content as well here. And so let's take a look as things go exactly at some Korean tech. I'm trying to remember. We'll find one. So as we take a closer look at the tech tree, we can't find anything Korean in here, including the very, self-explanatory Korean barracks. So it does seem to be the case that it bricks our tech. So this, I was misinformed, but this makes it so that the best way forward is going to be a little bit different than sloughing this off or operating in this way. Also, we do see that the Middle Kingdom being reformed, we probably don't want this to be operating immediately. You see minus 850 ducats. In the past, it has been the case that if you just don't put anything in, you don't pass any celestial laws whatsoever, that you don't have to pay the money. It just doesn't get kickstarted, and so you just leave this bricked. And so that has been the way to do it in the past. It appears to have been changed. And so what we will be doing is we will be rewinding yet again, but I think that we will maybe clean this up for a thumbnail for conquering all of China we got it done in 40 years, or a little bit under 40 years. Just if we did it in under 40 years, we would not be able to move the mandate onto Fang, but I think we want the mandate on Fang, and I do believe that we can form China later. We would just diplo-annex Fang, and then maybe this transfers the mandate, and we get all the cores when that happens, but doing that from a base of power that is much stronger, and also eliminating a lot of these Middle Kingdom tributaries, because all these guys joined in. There's a bunch of payees. We definitely don't want to be paying them just buckets of ducats like this, and so maybe conquer them. I'm not sure exactly how the mechanics in this work, but it's also very obvious that we don't have to take all of China. You can, as Korea, just take a big chunk of the coastline and just take this, be much more conservative, and then have this enormous power base for yourself as Korea. Let's rewind a little and try and see if we can figure something out. Alright, took a break, had some thoughts. First thing, something we didn't really consider before is these guys are all tributaries of Yuan. when we annex Yuan, we will get them as tributaries. I think that this is the driver of why we automatically just start in with the Middle Kingdom when we annex them and form China, and we don't want to be immediately thrust into paying Middle Kingdom payments because the benefits we will extract from the Middle Kingdom are not large enough to offset the payments. As far as I can tell, although I'm not super familiar with the mechanic because I haven't played a bunch of China. What would probably be best is forming China with a relatively low degree of confidence. When you form China in this way, you could also continue nation formations because it doesn't increase your country rank. Despite China being a rank 4 country normally, you can still do something like form the Ottomans. Okay, so that's something we could do. We also could, instead of passing, the celestial governorship, the mandate to Fang, or letting it fall to Fang, because I think that the thing is that they're just the biggest one of the rebels. What we could do is we could actually culture convert Fang, because Fang will not be eligible if they're not Chinese. Since they're our subject, we can force them to convert culture. And this would be kind of funny. We don't have every single person who is in the Red Turban Rebellion as a subject. Li is not a direct subject, Ming is. So we can't culture convert everyone, but this is maybe something we could do that's kind of funny. We're not going to do that, but it's just something to kind of keep in mind. I think what we're going to do is actually what just kind of happened naturally, is we're going to let Fang take the mandate, because we do not want it at this juncture. I'm not sure whether or not we can form China later as Korea after we move our capital and after we annex all these guys. I don't know exactly how that shakes out. But it seems like if we are going to be breaking the Korea content, then the accelerated China start would just be better than what we just did. And so wanting to kind of still play something resembling Korea, although this is just kind of nonsense, I think that's what we're going to do. We could also just white piece them and kick this can down the road. But a big thing is that there's like not any economic base whatsoever in any of this that we have. All of our economic base is back here, and we've actually just been kind of neglecting this, kind of more focused on this annexation and this type of thing. And so what I think we're going to do is we're just going to annex these guys. We're going to wait for this to be done, the Civil War to be done, though, before annexing these guys and letting Fang have the Mandate of Heaven. And a big reason why we want Fang to actually have it is Fang is actually too big to annex. It's going to take forever to annex Fang because it's based on the number of locations you have. They have a bunch of trash locations. We do not want to pay Diplo for every single one of these locations that has not so many pops, actually kind of a lot more than I was expecting, but that has not so many pops. We would rather just take the Mandate of Heaven off of them, kind of attack them, take the locations, and create subjects, something like this, than go the assimilation route. And so I think as a result, we're okay with them getting the Mandate, them being our subject on a temporary basis. Maybe even us joining the Middle Kingdom, IO. I do believe that we left, and we're no longer in it. Yeah, no, we are no longer in it, and maybe if we freed Fang, we can actually rejoin it, which would be kind of a little bit of an amusing thing. So we're going to proceed, but let it be known that the annexation did happen before 40 years. That's probably what we're going to title it, something like this, and what we will do is we will be looking to turn back inward after releasing a whole bunch of subjects. For the subjects, we're probably going to max out our Diplo spend, and then we will have more Diplo capacity, and so this will help out. Fang is taking up the biggest chunk of Diplo capacity, but it's not enormous. But also, we might want to stop doing OPMs and start just doing 2 province subjects. That way they consume a little bit less of our Diplo capacity, which is kind of strained, a little bit pressured as a resource, although we will be getting plus 20% coming out on up soon here. So, just put down the second entire China rebellion, and was having some thoughts, and that main thought is that, okay, the Sanjiao zealots, we could actually kind of, in some sense, get rid of by flipping Sanjiao. If we wanted more of a quiet economic game, rather than like a world conquest attempt, then I think Shinto starts to get worse. And we just asked the shogunate for money, so that cooldown is on kind of cooldown. We're up to 1,500 ducats. They gave us 6k, which was very nice of them. But almost all of our faith is Sanjiao at this point, and so why don't we just flip Sanjiao? I think this is a somewhat reasonable strategy. This is going to give us plus 15% satisfaction in all these areas. And between us doing this, and also, here, let's check the population satisfaction. It hasn't updated yet. Between us doing this and also having quite a bit of peasant satisfaction, we should be in pretty good shape. I think what we're going to do is we're going to start low taxing some guys a little bit. We're going to tax them to 55% instead, specifically with the nobles, because the nobles are the most dissatisfied. We can also throw them a little bit of a bone in maybe primacy of nobility. That's kind of expensive though on the power level. This is one that's probably decent. We're not going to really need that, and power level to satisfaction ratio, monetary fief seems okay, but we're just going to very notably get a pretty big bump on them in terms of the satisfaction. And let's up this to 60. We really don't need to generate a lot of money through them, and most of our pops now are going to have be in pretty good shape on that front. I think if we unpause, we might get to peel and take a look at the satisfaction. Yeah, there we go. That's kind of what we're talking about. And because we're still Korean, the satisfaction over here is going to be pretty nice. And so this might even cause people to leave the rebellion. You can see the Eastern Buddhist zealots are now gaining 0.05. Instead, the Sanjiao zealots, okay, they're still bad. We'll probably need to put them down because it's not enough to bring them above the threshold where they leave. They probably need a little bit more juice to leave. But okay. Fair enough. Also, this guy has been a thorn in our side this entire game. We got a CB off of them from our parliament, and now we're just going to take him out. We're not going to actually do anything. We're going to let our subjects take him out, but this way we will stop having the piracy, which has been plaguing our shores and preventing us from actually developing up here. That's going to be good for us. I think that they're currently, yeah, see, 0.2 negative trend. Pirates of the Korean western coastline. We haven't been able to really establish much of anything, and we would like to be able to really kind of gain additional control here, especially as we start to annex these guys. We have flipped on over to, in terms of our cabinet actions, improving diplomatic relations, and we will stay on this. The main idea is we want faster relations to improvement because we are trying to annex these guys, and boy do they get annexed really quick. We have 38 million pops, and okay, they keep rebelling and this is going to be a vibe, but we have 38 million pops, and so what this means is that we have these much smaller modifiers. We have these much smaller modifiers on guys with hundreds of thousands of pops because we have so much more than them. So it's actually not going to really take us very long at all to annex through all of these guys, especially if we are deleting their urbanization and this type of thing. And so as long as they're not too big, like Guo's kind of big, Fang, as we have mentioned, is kind of big. As long as they're not too big, we should be in decent shape. We're also only a little bit above Diplo cap, and so when we finish this war, we will probably release a bunch more subjects, go pretty significant over Diplo cap, or go 2 to 3 above Diplo cap, maybe even 4, maybe even release Fang as a subject, because we want to long-term to go after them, and they're impeding us in this regard, because us having and holding all of this territory is like actively bad for us. When the rebellions pop, we're like plus 200 gold per month. And then when it's not popped, we're like negative a lot. Okay, we're also going to get righteousness and eventually a harmony, or harmony is a balance thing. So we are going to get prosperity and development here. So that's why I said if you want more of a quiet game, a little bit of like internal eco after Koreaing the China, you can do this. I don't think we want to go for a sect. I think we have one more mechanic in here, but maybe not. We have harmony, that's righteousness, both are enabled. Alright, okay. I still think Shinto probably overall is better, and also that this, if you're going to go Sanjiao, it still might makes more sense to go Shinto first, just because of how much money that got us in the early game here. But we will soon be making use of some of this territory, looking to put down urbanization, this type of stuff, and this is going to be really high pop areas, and so we are going to be able to build quite a lot of stuff there. I think that we'll also kind of take a look at what we could build in terms of we didn't take a look and see if we had conquered anything that allowed this. Yeah, we could just mass build these. That's probably okay. Just all over the place. Do love the pop growth. And we can kind of control the action a little bit, or since we are at war, we can't get a rebellion pop. So we can control when and where these guys are going to pop. But very nice to see the Eastern Buddhist Zealots basically go away. I think if we peel another month, maybe some of these also start to go away, because the leave threshold has been satisfied here. We see some of them go down, but they don't go away. Fair enough. Let's take another look at satisfaction with like an updated bit, and we are doing pretty well in the satisfaction department. And what we'll do is we'll focus on releasing some subjects in areas where we have really, really low satisfaction, because I think that once these guys pop on terms of the rebels, they maybe are going to be satisfied enough to just kind of hang about and not repeatedly rebel. Although they are still in conquered territory, which is going to have -50, and it's going to be pretty nasty, so the separatism factor is pretty strong, so maybe not. A point to be made is that we did research some Shinto tech, so if we planned on doing that Shinto swap from the start, it would have been not ideal to do it the way we did, where we kind of researched a decent chunk of Shinto tech. Although, I think that it's looking like our tech might idle at some point in time, because we've researched everything that is super, super useful in this age. We do have to get the institution growth. I guess we can grab that, but we don't have, we're gonna idle on our research because we have not seen any institution other than the ones that start out in our vision. We haven't seen anything come across. The Mamluks are feeding it relatively slow this run, and we have a ton of research speed, so it's going to be okay. Another thing regarding the research is we get classical Chinese as our language power, which is a little bit better than Japanese, I think, in the long term, because Japanese, Shinto, we would be locked in, although we could always just flip Japanese in terms of culture and convert everyone to Japanese culture, which is probably would be a decent shout in terms of the overall strategy. That way, if everyone is Japanese, it really makes sure that this liturgical language is maxed out. But okay, eventually, probably whatever we make our court language is just going to be the most powerful language anyways, and so maybe it's not that big a deal. We still have court language as Korean. We could even change this to classical Chinese if we were so inclined. It would be decent, but don't want to do it because the stab is currently negative here. Looks like we get a little bit of some Korea content with the formation of the Jiaoli and Guanhak. Of course, we pronounce that very much incorrectly, and so we will have a couple of things going on here with factional strife. We will gain something until another Korean faction is chosen. We gain some stab. And it looks like we will gain progress towards traditionalist as well. That's not exactly what we want. And so, okay, we will choose who we want. Well, I think we will go for the stab here. The stab is good. The stab is heading our way. We also do have just a little bit of a tenth of our non-Xianjiao pops and under 50 control will convert Eastern Buddhist religion. That is not ideal. We do not want to convert people to Eastern Buddhist. That is not what we wanted. But we are starting to get some proximity across the way, or we initially have that, and we have a little bit from bailiffs. I think in theory we should be spamming bailiffs a whole lot more, and so we'll probably look to find places where there's gold. But the thing is these are the only locations we're planning on holding on to. Everything else we're planning on feeding through subjugation. And so it's just a matter of figuring out which things the bailiff is going to pay, because we're not going to turn it into a subject for an extended period of time where the bailiff will like pay for itself. And that seems like quite a bit of an ask. I think that we will take the legitimacy hit. It is going to be expensive to get that legitimacy back, though. One thing that is really nice, though, here is that our gain to Sanjiao really makes this a whole lot cheaper. So we have a lot of additional gain here that is just flat. And if we get a few sources of being able to gain legitimacy, we basically don't have to pay for that slider very much at all. So this is one of the really big benefits of Sanjiao. But you have to stay in monarchy. And Monarchy kind of feels bad, man. This is going to be pretty nice for us that we get a new law category, dominant currency. Chinese currency is maybe decent, but the barter economy honestly kind of slaps. Trade range use over land is going to be really nice, especially because we have all these Chinese places that are inland pretty deep. We can also gain progress towards capital economy. We don't really want that at this juncture, so we'll go with that. We can also accept more cultures if we were so inclined. I don't think we want to because we are over our cap already, having accepted Wu, but this is something to kind of keep in mind. Also, this is why we wanted to keep this territory, and why this little bit of territory that we have here in these few locations is not rebelling. The satisfaction is high enough for them to not be eligible to revolt, even through the fact that they are in conquered states, because they are accepted pops and they are of the correct faith as well. Do you think the shackles have been broken? Do you think that we are under the foot of the Yuan people at this point in time? I'm not so sure. But after a century of Mongolian rule over Goryeo, the nation has finally broken away, has it now? The conquerors of the steppes are no longer have a say in Goryeo politics, and our culture and government are once again flourishing. Alright, we're going to gain some stab, nice big chunk of stab, some prestige, and we lose the mutual hostage stance modifier towards Great Northern Yuan, which is... wait. Does this still exist? What the hell? Oh. Fang has become Great Northern Yuan, or their subject has become Great Northern Yuan. Wait. They're number 15 GP. I'm so confused, actually. We annexed another subject, but where are these guys? Do they exist? Only... okay, it looks like they don't even exist. The loud car outside, that exists. That's the only true reality we know, is how loud is the car outside. We have some more wars that we could declare. We're getting free claims on these guys, part of Korea content. Of course, we wouldn't want to miss an opportunity to expand our borders, you know, shameful as they are, just kind of, you know, huddled in our peninsula here. So I guess we'll declare war. But we released a bunch of subjects already here. We're going to also want to improve relations with them, I suppose, here. Let's get that ongoing, and then we will have to wait for a next month tick, and then we will probably be going after these guys. Or actually, yeah, we have one annexation, more annexation going. These annexations are really flying, and it is giving us cores, so that's maybe how we kind of make all of this work and still play as Korea, and then expand into all of China. We've added around, I don't know, like a third of, maybe 20% of the territory or something as additional subjects, so we should be able to cruise through this pretty quickly, considering it's only taking like a year per annexation or something like this. Or, well, I guess 3 years for this annexation, but that's really, really kind of a fast clip, and it's going to get faster as we annex more guys and kind of bump back up to 40 million plus total pops, something like this. So we want to be careful not to hand out too many of them. At the same time, the rebels are slowing in terms of how quickly they are spreading each time we do this, and also we are now really, really in the positive here, gaining money from our subjects, as well as not getting hemorrhaged out by owning all this conquered land that's really not useful at all to us yet. So, one last shuffle, we're going to favor the clergy instead of the wealthy here for our parliament, and with that we will be able to push up a spiritualist even more. So let's change the societal value towards spiritualist. This will give us more tolerance to the true faith. I think we'll just appoint whoever's the most competent here. Actually, yeah... well, we want to have burgers in cabinet, so we'll do this guy. That'll be fine enough, and he will push spiritualist. He can't push it right now, but as the law continues to go in, he'll be able to push it another 5 or 6. At which point we will swap that off again to favor the ruler, I think, because we are perma-having issues with crown power because we have so many guys. She's not helping really though, because don't have many crown power characters. Would like to get her out of the way, but alas, we cannot Subaru her. Unfortunately, we just don't have very many crown power characters. We got one. He's got a lot of kids, but for whatever reason, that's not her heir. So we're going to be re-rolling a new dynasty. It feels like they're fairly often, if you have fiefdoms, there's this finicky like situation where the person who's supposed to succeed the throne does not. Like this guy's heir, I think, was supposed to be this guy, but this guy didn't succeed the throne because he's like in a different location or something like this, or we've seen this type of bug before, although he's our courtier now, so maybe it was someone we annexed. But it leads to like kind of annoying situations where we don't have a dynasty effectively, we're going to get reset, and this is one of the reasons why we're pushing spiritualist or want to push spiritualist, and so that we can flip on to theocracy in theory. But we are approaching the end of the run here for ourselves because this is just going to be a first 50. Don't really want to manage having all these Chinese provinces over some sort of like long-term type of run, but these annexations are really quick. We could probably be doing 3 simultaneously, and if they take 3 years and we're doing 3 simul, you can see this one is around 3 years. This one will be finished in 5 years. If we could do 3 of these simultaneously, like if we could get the relations up, then we're going to annex this entirety at a pretty good clip, especially considering most of the pop is in these kind of areas that are on the coast that we are getting right now. So after that, it will be even faster. Like this is one of the slower ones, right? Because they have 700,000 pops, but still, we have plus 200% from much smaller because we're just holding on to a whole bunch of territory. We do spot our first bit of institutions on the horizon. Renaissance is spreading to India. Just as soon as it gets there, we'll probably try and do as much trade as possible if we can trade that far. I'm not entirely sure. We have some trade capacity, so in theory we could maybe get something done, but it looks like, yeah, looks like that's the closest province we can kind of grab, and I don't think that they are spreading it yet. Yeah, they're not spreading Renaissance yet, so it's going to have to leapfrog a couple more times, but we have spotted it just about 50 years in here, and we are still researching somewhat useful texts, although we're kind of hitting the back end of that. Just the generic texts, we will hit the totality of them, but this makes the swap not feel quite so bad. The fact that we are breaking Shinto tech is not as bad in the face of the fact that we are researching tech that's really not all that useful. So in essence, because we couldn't have spent the research on better stuff, it's not necessarily that big a deal. Also, us flipping religions is allowing us to integrate these guys much easier because they have higher relations, although we did flip 2 of these guys Shinto, I think, so we'll either have to wait for them to flip back Sanjiao themselves, which they probably will, or flip them back ourselves if we want to annex them. So not the tightest type of gameplay because we weren't planning on flipping Sanjiao, but I think it just does kind of make things a lot more straightforward here because we won't be perma-revving anywhere near as much, and the additional satisfaction is going to allow us to get little snippets of control kind of out and about in areas that are urbanized, and a decent chunk if we just add in bailiffs. I think we're adding in a bailiff over here, which is going to be useful. Looks like we don't have access to wood. Womp womp. We have to fix markets up and this type of thing, but in light of the fact that we're done in 2 years, probably not going to overly focus or concern ourselves too much with that because there's like 13 markets to fix, and that's a lot. Alright, so for whatever reason this guy got punted out of the war. I don't know exactly why. I think he maybe rebelled, and then this ejected him from the war because he I don't know exactly what happened, but that was the war goal, and so we can't take the rest of the stuff until we've taken that because this province is eligible, but we can't select it. So seems to be a little bit of a bug here at the end. Not too big a deal. We'll just enforce some sort of peace where we take war reps and other stuff, and we'll just come back for that later because we have cores. It's not that big a deal. But with that said, I think we're going to conclude here because we have another year and a half. I don't think we're going to do anything spectacular in a year and a half. We are continuing to get some cores. I think that what we would do is we would feed these to the correct culture guy. So this guy, I think, is... I'm not 100% sure. I do believe that he is the culture. I forget exactly. Ooh, he's Zhang Yuan. That's not ideal because we need someone who's Jai Lu. Is this guy Jai Lu? If this guy's Jai Lu, what the strategy would be, and he is we can feed these provinces that are primarily Jai Lu, that did not quite core up for us. We could feed those to him. Looks like these, though, are Zhang Yuan, right? So we can feed that to this guy, and by doing this, we are effectively going to be able to, well, we won't be able to do it right now. We're effectively going to give them to someone who will be able to core them as soon as they're integrated, which they will be automatically, and it'll take us a little bit more Diplo to annex, but we won't have to do a bunch of culture conversion, which is a bit prohibitive when you have 96,000 pops, and that's probably not even the highest one. Yeah, 98,000. And so handing these guys over and making sure that they get cored under the proper culture guy is probably going to be important if we want to have relatively high control. But just integrated is kind of fine too, to some extent, because it's not going to have a lot of separatism. So that means we won't have perma revolutions. But the reason we won't be doing the last year and a half is because that's just going to be fighting through 2 revs, which is kind of uninteresting, I think, from a video perspective, and certainly not as interesting as going in the loud car outside. And I think that nothing else is going to be really accomplished that's too crazy other than the speed at which we are annexing these guys. We are finishing up a core here in terms of just natural coring these Wu provinces, because we do accept those pobs, and so that would be coming along as well. And I think maybe in the side, like another 50 years or something like that, we could annex all of these guys. If we're averaging 1 subject every year, then we can annex 50 subjects, so maybe even a bit more than that. And so even though it was kind of a little bit spooky at first, where we're like, oh man, this is going to take forever to integrate all this, it's actually going at a really fast clip here. And so if you wanted to play Korea and have all the Korea stuff and then take all of China and then kind of play with Korean flavor instead of Chinese flavor, this seems relatively doable as well. Not exactly what we were expecting in terms of content. I was expecting that we would get all the cores for free and also be able to keep our Korean content. I'm still not sure if you could move eventually the capital over into China, become China primary culture, and then from there, probably Wu, and then from there, form China once everyone else is out of the way. I don't know if this is still possible. It might be, but we're not going to be testing it out because that would be a rather lengthy run, managing a whole ton of markets and a whole ton of stuff. But anyways, I hope that this is kind of at least demonstrated proof of concept where you could just start out as Korea, just get a very explosive start, be in really good economic shape, take all of China, and then integrate it relatively quickly. You can do the same thing as Kumai, and probably as Da Viet, but as Kumai and Da Viet, you have to fight Korea. Ashikaga, you might be able to do it as well, but Japan content has issues, and so the last person I think you could probably do it as is maybe Delhi, and there's some interesting moves you could maybe make to be able to facilitate this type of thing, but it is very abusable, this thing with China, as well as Shinto just kind of giving you gobs and gobs of cash. But I hope you enjoyed this episode. It's been a rather long one. If you did, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, etc. And also, if you've been sitting or just like watching this entire time through, take a break. Get something to drink. Take a walk, something like this, because this has been like a three hour stint with the loud cars outside, of course, making many appearances. But other than all that, have a good one. Bye-bye now.